For like a week now, I've been telling people to hit this blunt, and I don't know why I've been saying it, but I just keep thinking of like of Yuna's like speech at the end of FF10, just being like, "Spira, hit this blunt." I don't know why I keep thinking it, but
I feel like in time it will be made known why you're thinking it, and it'll be worth it. Right now, I'm in the same boat. I have no fucking idea what that means.
Well, okay. One of my friends is moving from Canada to America, and she was like, "Yo, I like America. It's pretty cool. You know, I think y'all have like a lot of like decent things going on, but y'all gotta chill the fuck out in general. Like y'all are just like." Fucking insane. It's a country of insane people who are like the most highly strung of anybody in the world. America, hit this blunt. I keep thinking about like hit this blunt.
I was gonna say, I'm assuming that your friend from Canada who's moving to the US is Canadian, and I can kind of feel that because that is the most polite way to describe anything going on in America ever, is like, I like what you guys are doing for the most part, but like you guys need to chill. It's like that is the most gracious thing about America I've ever heard.
Yeah. Listen, I don't have any opening bits. I don't have any opening gags. All I know is that this is the sexual episode of Final Fantasy X-2. Perhaps.
I feel like every one of them
You remember Squirting Monkey? It's back.
Yeah, look, Squirting Monkey's back.
In a big way.
Yo, Squirting Monkeys are back in a big way. This is the Every F and FF podcast. My name is Curtis.
I'm Carl.
I'm Alex, and returning guest
Squealing Mage
from Grand Pulp. Squealing Mage?
I mean,
Squealing
Steven,
Mage.
however you want to introduce me. I just thought squealing, squirting, it all goes together.
Yeah, it works.
Oh,
Got you.
Squealing Mage.
Yeah.
It's Steven from Daycare Dittos.
Dunsparce himself.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, the one and the same. We were kind of talking before. It's appropriate that we brought the gay man onto this episode because when I was playing this game, it did absolutely nothing for me. So,
well, I'll tell you what it did for me. It enraged me. So,
I also want to set the record straight and say that we might not actually get to the massage scene, which I believe is what you're referring to, Steven. Maybe not.
Oh, I'm talking about Gagazette specifically.
Because personally, the sexy monkeys did it for me, for sure.
That's fair.
But yeah, like, thanks for coming back from. For people who don't know, Steve's a good friend of ours on our rival podcast, Daycare Dittos.
Mm-hmm.
The LeBlanc Syndicate to our Gull Wings.
Oh man, they're the cool ones.
And you're on Team Rocket.
Yeah. Fuck yes.
Last year on, you were helping us through some Gagazette missions. Not Gagazette missions, some Grand Pulse missions back in 13
That's
season.
right.
The like spiritual successor to this game, more or less.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Yeah, like the systems there, the endless missions are there.
The jumping. Everybody loves jumping.
The jumping, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Final Fantasy 13 kind of went backwards a little bit with the jump mechanic, but luckily they did bring it back with Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Has basically the same system as it is in this one, and it's just as interesting in my personal opinion.
I do have to say, I think that it's really great that they grounded Yuna in Final Fantasy X-2 by not allowing her to swim, which was Titus's key feature. So, if you ever go to any of the areas in the game you used to be able to swim, Yuna cannot go in any of those waters. So
that's a really good point, because like there's spots that Titus could never get to, like over a small, tiny little like curb, which now Yuna can just jump over and get a cool treasure.
Well, when I was doing the what was it? You had to get the keys for the during the Gunner's Gauntlet, or not the Gunner's Gauntlet, to unlock that door that Waka was behind. Yeah. And I saw it on the map in that area where you could swim with Titus to get like it was like one of the spheres or the sigils or whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll just swim over there. And I was like, shit, Yuna can't swim. What do I do?
What do I do?
It's much like Toad's treasure tracker. Like, oh yeah, what if Mario could not jump?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's always interesting when a game gives you like a new verb that like you just completely fucking forget about. Like when I was playing Elden Ring for the first time, my brain is so hardwired with Dark Souls that I would like see certain obstacles and just be like, well, that I must have to come back here. And then it's like, no, motherfucker, you have a dedicated jump button, and they're designing around the dedicated jump button.
Can we please talk about the fact that in Breath of the Wild, not Breath of the Wild, sorry, Tears of the Kingdom,
Yes.
so often I was like, man, if only I could scale buildings real fast, just real vertical. Man, too bad I don't have that. I'll just launch 8 rockets off my hands.
Yeah.
They got rid of Rivali's Gale. What am I going to do?
Yeah. Oh man, I can never get up here.
Yeah.
Always use Ascend. Always.
It's such a good ability, but
God, speaking of which, should I buy Captain Toad Treasure Tracker right now?
How much is it?
It's $39.99, and it looks pretty good.
I feel like that's the cheapest a Nintendo game can ever get, a first-party Nintendo game, so yes.
Yeah, it's pretty
It'll
good.
shoot up to 80.
I think it's
Soon.
based on the levels from Super Mario 3D World, right? The ones where you just
Yeah,
play
I
as
like
Toad.
those
They made a whole
too.
game as that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
I'm gonna buy it.
charming.
All right, sorry. As we're talking right now, I'm purchasing it.
I saw Curtis intently looking at his phone, and my first thought was like, he's ordering fast food right now.
Like I name dropped Treasure Tracker, and Curtis is like his gears were turning. I was like, oh, more Mario games.
Yeah, I was like, oh, there is a Mario game I haven't played yet.
Imagine some sort of jump man who cannot jump.
Did you see the whole thing about Blue Toad on Twitter?
No.
How Blue Toad is a different person from Toad, but only in some games, and sometimes Blue Toad is just the blue version of Toad.
That reminds me of Wint/Drill of Twitter fame. Now streams on
Add
Twitch.
this to the bingo card of when will Carl mention a drill.
A drill tweet and or the piss stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/piss, which everyone should watch because it's the funniest fucking shit in the world. But one day they were just drawing NFTs in MS Paint and talking about how they were minting them. And the one host, Derek, drew a really shitty Bart Simpson but colored him blue and just called him Blue Bart. And I am fucking obsessed with Blue Bart, and I'm always thinking about Blue Bart. And he's always like, no. This is a different character than Bart, because if you look closely, he's actually blue. This is Blue Bart.
I don't know if this like is going to change later if like the game updates, but now that I'm downloading it, I don't know if y'all can see this, but the thumbnail's in Japanese for some reason.
Yeah, it is.
Oh hell yeah!
So I'm not sure why that is.
You got the Kaizo version.
I guess so.
God, a Kaizo version would probably be
So
really
it's like,
sick.
what is that, like Susume Kinopio? Something like
Kinopio is the name of Toad in
that? Yeah,
Japanese,
mushroom,
right? Yeah. Anyway, speaking of Captain Toad and the various Toads and the various colors of Bart Simpson, if you have been listening this season, I think you'll understand our recurring gag each episode where we try to go as long as we fucking can before we actually start talking about Final Fantasy X-2, because it just keeps happening like sort of by accident. So we might have hit a new record today, but I'm not sure.
Oh, Steven, you mentioned having played this before. And like, I think our past guest, Strong, had played it specifically to be a guest. When was the first time you played this?
When it came out immediately.
Oh, awesome.
Yo,
Yeah.
fuck yes.
Like a lot of people, like I think I said this on maybe the previous episode I was on, but we got our PS2 and we got it like with Final Fantasy X because that was our first chance to get a hold of a Final Fantasy game. So we were like, hell yeah. So we played 10 so much. We loved 10. And like a lot of people, we saw the little video of the after and we got hooked. And so when 10.2 was like announced, we were all over it. So me and my brother got it. We played it a lot. And this is going to be like my first point in this is like, I want to commend you all for doing the 100% because
Well.
it's
we'll see.
I mean, asterisks, of
Yeah,
course.
for attempting to do
be
the
determined.
100%.
But
Alleged.
yeah, but for covering it just in general, because it is quite the dedication. There's so much, but also like what I would like the listeners to keep in mind as they hear this is that like this comes from a day and an age where like you were playing games over and over again, you know?
Yeah.
So like this game really was for the people who had played like 400 hours of Final Fantasy X. They had like completed the sphere grid with every character. Like they were doing base 9,000 damage with Riku's general attack. Like, you know, so 10-2 was kind of like, yeah, just play it and like focus on whatever you want. Do this, do that, do a new game. You get your percentage, you unlock a little bit more. And, you know, it was just like a different time. So I think like, you know, you can spend 100, 200 hours in this game, right?
Yeah.
But you could also beat it in like 2.
Yeah.
And what makes this game so great is the fact that there is all of this stuff. So you could play this game 3 times and it's a completely different and new experience like each time.
I think in a lot of ways, like Steven, I know you're also a From Software fan. That is actually kind of a baseline thing of like when we're vetting people to see if they're going to be on the show, I'm like, first question, do you like From Software? Has nothing to do with the fact that Steven and I have been friends for like over a decade now or anything. And but it's kind of like a From Software experience where it's like you can go through these games and do things slightly differently. And like at first it's like your first playthrough is completely different than future ones because you can kind of just change it up and try different things. And like I really love that in games. Like for covering for a podcast where it's like, oh, well, we have to cover everything immediately as we can come up to it. You know, that's really counterintuitive to like a first blind playthrough of a game, but I always really appreciate when games do that where you can do things like another example that I can think of is like Hollow Knight, where I played through it and I fell off of it, and I played through a lot of it, like probably like 15 hours or something, and then I just like stopped playing it and put it down, and then I started a new file and I found an area that I had not found in my first playthrough of it, and I was just like, this is like one of the coolest things that's ever happened. And I feel like that can probably also happen in this game where you're like, oh, I didn't go to Besaid in chapter 1 during like my first playthrough, let me see what's going on there and stuff. And it, as you play it more and more, like with like new game cycles or just starting from a new file, like you get different experiences each time.
Yeah, you know, you get to pick if you want to go with New Yevon or the Youth League, or, you know, you talk to this character, or you're like, oh, hey, this character's over here. You know, like when you're playing the game, right? Like this game is so much about identity, right? It's about Yuna literally trying to find her identity after she's basically lost it, more or less, you know, like her religion is gone, her entire meaning for existence is gone, her boyfriend is gone.
Her glorious death was robbed from her by a simp.
Exactly, right? And like, what better way to explore those themes than allowing Yuna to be a warrior or the mage, or let her be whatever you want, meet
or
whoever you want.
Monkey breeder.
Yeah, to breed some monkeys, fix some towers, you know, dig in the sand a little bit. But yeah, like as you explore the world more and more, it's kind of like Majora's Mask, where like your first 3 days, you don't really get a whole lot done. But then your next 3 days, you get a little bit more and a little bit more. And then you're like, wait, can I do this and like help everybody? Like, is there a way? Like, and that's kind of why I think Final Fantasy X too, if you play it, it's just so accessible. But at the same point, I think this is a topic you guys talked about in the Final Fantasy X podcast as well. Like 10 reinvented Final Fantasy and was meant to be a reinvention. And 10-2, I think, kind of reintroduces you to the world of Final Fantasy, because they're like, hey, you're here now. Cool. Turn-based is gone. We're doing active battle systems. You know, you got to learn these abilities. You got to like, but we're going to craft it in this way that's really unique and is like visually representative as well. You know, like you're not just like, oh, my black mage, like what can my black mage do? I just need to like look through all the spells and I guess I'll pick this one. What does that do? You're like, oh, here's this character. And here's what they wear, and here's how they like stand. And when they do their victory pose, they like do it in a different way. And it's like, it creates this whole like visual masterpiece, I think.
Yeah,
I mean,
hell yeah.
I do want to say, like, I talk all of this talk and I'm like, the developers didn't intend for any of this. Like, they weren't crafting this.
That should be the tagline of our fucking podcast. The developers did not intend of any of this that we're talking about.
But you know, like I came to Final Fantasy, but I think that Final Fantasy X-2 came to me because even thematically in my life, when I was playing 10, I was in, I think, 4th or 5th grade. Just a young kid, barely knowing much about myself. I was very into religion because that's what my family did, you know. And then I'm playing this game that's about religion and these cycles and this suffering and how to end it. And then the game ends, and I'm like, okay. And then a couple years pass, and now I'm in middle school, and I'm realizing I'm gay, and I'm like, oh shit, I have to like throw this entire life behind potentially, you know. Of course, when you're a kid, you don't know how it's going to turn out. But at the time, I was just like, my identity is gone and I'm scared. And then here's this game, Final Fantasy X-2, that's like, let's just have a good time. Like, let's just...
Life is all about having fun. Let's go.
Yeah, like after religion is thrown out, like things can still feel.
Then the party can truly
the moral
begin.
compass and just like caring about yourself. Yeah, like it's what comes after. It's really nice.
And I think it's really easy, of course, to create like a great story about overcoming some incredible evil, right? Like everybody can bond over like some trauma that they're all going through, right? But like, I don't know. I really love Steven Universe. It's a really great series. They created the show. At the end, you know, everything seems great. Then they have the movie. The movie is all about, okay, what if you lose your identity and you have to start all over again? And then afterwards, they created the show, Steven Universe Future, where it's like, oh, hey, what do you do when everything's good now and you're the problem because you can't move on? Like, you know, and I think that Final Fantasy X-2 kind of gives that joy and that like love of like, hey, you can have a good time, you can figure things out, you could I don't know. When I think about this game and how people give it kind of a rap sometimes about being a little cringy, which like, listen,
it's a Final Fantasy game. What fucking Final Fantasy game isn't cringy? You're telling me that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth isn't going to be cringe as fuck? You embrace the cringe.
That's what I'm saying, right? It's like the road to baseness is paved with cringe. Like you have to go through the cringe to get to the great thing. And I think like Final Fantasy 15 as a side story,
that's Buddhism, right?
yeah. But like Final Fantasy 15 is very similar, I think, to Final Fantasy X-2 in that it's a boys' trip about these guys who lost their kingdom, lost their, you know, status, and are kind of starting over and trying to figure things out. And I don't like Final Fantasy 15 because they're so serious. Everybody's so serious. Like, just have a good time. Like, I don't know. But
the wedding's ruined.
I'm like,
I'm assuming that's what it's about, right?
Noctis, just smile.
Pretty much.
Just smile once, yeah. What we're saying here is, would it kill you to smile a little more, Noctis?
Or he goes fishing. He has a good time.
I was gonna say that's the one time I saw him having a real good
one time he's happy.
I've never really played 15. I still have it wrapped from the day one edition that I got when it first came out. Is there a bumper sticker that you can put on your cool car that says "I'd rather be fishing"? Because if not, that is a fucking missed opportunity.
You can fly your car into the ocean.
Well, that's just as good, I guess.
Yeah,
it's no Celsius.
I platinumed 15, so I do really appreciate 15, but to the same extent, I'm just like, I don't know, there's something missing. They're just not cringy enough for me. Like,
they're not cringy enough.
Steven is of the same discipline of me, where I platinumed Sekiro because I was like, I need to talk immense shit on this game, and I know that the Get Good crowd is going to be like, oh, you just didn't understand the game. I'm like, motherfucker, I platinumed it, and I did not like it.
All I'm saying is, where was the hot spring scene with Gladiolus and Noctis and all them? I just
give the people what they want.
Exactly.
I mean, they were always.
I got a few sites
camping. That's kind of like the beach episode.
I guess.
They go to the Golden Key. It's the beach.
And the branding. What was the brand of camping gear they used?
yeah.
Coleman.
Coleman.
Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Got a Coleman gear.
Yeah, having their cup of noodle in their Coleman tents.
This podcast is brought to you by Cup of Noodle and Coleman.
No, it's not unless they want to pay us, which, yeah.
They're like, nah, we already got that shit for free.
Yeah, damn it.
But yeah, no, that's I really like your perspective, and I appreciate you bringing that to the show, Stephen. It's interesting that like Final Fantasy X-2, like you were talking about the accessibility of it, and it's obviously a sequel, so it makes sense if you would play Final Fantasy X first. But it also is like this weird kind of accessibility thing where it's like this could have been someone's first Final Fantasy game. I think we've spoken to someone who had it as their first game, and like you might not get all of the Final Fantasy things going on in it, but it's portrayed in a way that is very accessible to like learn that way.
Yeah, no, and I mean, like, there's even in the nods to some of the battle animations. I mean, if you're Yuna, you're holding Brotherhood, and if you're as a warrior, you're holding it, and then your victory animation is throwing it in the air like Titus did. You know, like,
yeah, I never noticed that until it was brought up last episode.
I wonder if those other swords are also belong to some dead little brother. Rico and Pains.
Yeah. But I love how unique everything is, how everything is like crafted, all of the animations. Like I actually don't turn the animations off because I just love the magical girl transformations.
They're really good
as well. Yeah.
I feel bad that I turned them off, and that is strictly just because a lot of the playthrough takes a while, and when I'm trying to like hit a deadline for the week and stuff, it's like I would love to just watch these over and over again. I like the Final Fantasy VIII cutscenes each time, but you know,
the first time you use a dress sphere, which I guess we'll talk about a little bit coming up, is it's like mandatory that you at least see it once.
Yeah.
And I love that, you know, there's one for leaving a specific class and also another one for turning into a specific class.
That's
like,
so nice.
It shows a lot of
different
care.
finishers, the different like finishing animations depending on the class or what dress sphere you have equipped.
Yeah,
there's
I
always
mean,
like
like
different poses.
There's 3 characters, an intro and an outro for every dress sphere, so that's 6 per dress sphere.
Yeah,
that's a lot of animations.
Again,
really
back in the day when you didn't have the guide or you didn't have like the internet to go to, like you got a new dress sphere and you were like, holy shit, what does this one do? What does this one look like? Like, I need to see them all in it. Like,
I recently started Bravely Default, and that's actually what's getting like, oh, this kind of reminds me a little bit of like just how much you can just like change people around.
good.
I think it also just shows kind of the power of like keeping a team of like developers and having like the source engine. Like Steven, you brought up Majora's Mask. Majora's Mask was also like made very quickly after the Ocarina of Time. I've heard like to the detriment of the developers because it's the video game industry no matter what.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
it's really cool when like they have all of these assets and they can kind of just play with it more. They're not developing like all the like they obviously were making a new battle system, but like they had all this stuff, so they're like, okay, we can really we have the time to dedicate to doing all these animations for all these different things. Like we have all these elements that we can add.
Yeah.
And they crafted a system where, you know, very similar to Dark Souls or whatever, like it's not like Pain can be literally any class. Like, yeah, if you want to min-max, probably there are some that are better for her than others or whatever. But ultimately, like, Yuna can be like an alchemist. She could be, you know, carrying a dog on her back. She could have a giant samurai sword. She could have whatever you
about the
want
one where she has a
her
dog.
to have.
That's right.
Like you can play Yuna however you want to play Yuna and however you see Yuna. And likewise for all of the characters. And I think that that's like a really kind of important message. I mean, I'm also a big fan of like drag, and that's one of the things you hear very often is like putting on a wig, putting on clothes. It's like an experience. You can become like a different person just by putting on clothes and feeling a specific way. And like, again, what better way to find Yuna's identity by like tried it all on. Like,
yeah, of course. Like, maybe Yuna's a fucking Dark Knight, you know? Like that's so cool. That rocks.
The Dark Knight outfit's so good too. Like,
I can't wait to see it. I think I've seen it in like
it's
like
so
on
baller.
the wiki and stuff, but like I'm excited to get that.
When we were doing the very first it was the first or second episode. I remember talking about an interview with the designer for it where he was like, yeah, they wanted me to draw all these clothes, but I mostly just like to draw monsters, so it was really hard. But the Dark Knight one, pretty sure I nailed that one. And I'm like, buddy, you did.
You really did. Like top 1%.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, now it's Vamp Zone. Now that Alex has left once again.
Yeah, now that Alex has left, we can finally get this podcast on the road.
Let's just real quick talk about what happens in Zanarkand, then real quick we're going to talk about what happens in Beaconell, and then real quick we're going to talk about all of these things. We're stealing clothes left and right.
Speaking of which,
so Alex, welcome back. We actually just covered everything. So if you want to,
thank God.
Do you have any final thoughts about?
Thank
Zanarkand?
you for coming on, Steven.
A new record, 30 minutes.
I knew you guys were some speedrunners, but this is ridiculous.
We just used the famous skip, content skip, where we just end the podcast.
But yeah, speaking of which, I think we should go ahead and start getting into like the content of today's episode, right?
Yeah, sure.
So
I gave this whole speech, and now, where do we start?
Where do we start? We're gonna start specifically with Zanarkand, right? Because so we have 4 locations left, I think, that we need to go to. 3 of which are going to be the locations to get our LeBlanc disguises, right? Our syndicate disguises. And we have 1 location before those,
so we can properly goon.
Goon. We're saying that's right. We're gonna infiltrate the goon cave. We need to be ready for that goon. So Zanarkand's first, right? We're going back. The last time we were there, we told Sid off. And actually, then we saw him on the Thunder Plains and told him off again. So 2 for 2.
I'm sulking.
He's sulking.
Yeah, but the mission on the world map says summoners from all over Spira once traveled to Zanarkand, here at the end of the world. Such history. Too bad it's just a tourist attraction now.
Yeah. And when we arrive too, there's a little scene as we try to walk toward the old Blitzball dome or Zanarkand proper, where Yuna kind of turns around and she surveys the people all standing there outside Zanarkand and is just disappointed that this is what it's become, right? And Riku's just oh my God, what is my dad thinking? What is he doing? Can he not see what he's doing here?
I really like that they kind of drove home too, just with the crowd around there and how they're all just very let's make money pilled, and they're just extremely insensitive. Where I get Yevon all of the religious stuff, whatever, but they just say only those Yevon dogma jockeys could worship a pile of rubble like this. These ruins are a testament to Yevon's folly. The youth league will make far better use of this place. It's that is so fucked up.
Was it dogma jockeys?
Dogma jockeys, yeah.
I love that term. I love dogma jockey.
God, yeah, there's so many fucking the Crusaders are assholes here. Yeah, I was looking at this script and it says when the Youth League rules, the first thing we'll do is smash up Yevon's trashy monuments.
That's what they always do.
Yeah.
Miserable pawn of Yevon, fitting that your kind devote themselves to this rotting heap of rubbish.
So
one
fucking
of those points where you're are we the baddies?
There's one I'm reading out of context and I can't tell if it's sincere or not, because it's what's the matter? High Summoner didn't get enough of this place in your last trip.
Damn, really? Fuck.
Rude.
It's yeah, it was super fun last time. Thanks, asshole, you fucking dickhead. You're welcome for saving your life, you fucking piece of shit. Fuck you.
Come back to try again. Fucking weirdo.
But yeah, so when we go inside, inside the stadium though, there are far fewer people, right? There used to be the sphere hunting grannies were hanging out, right?
Oh yeah,
nowhere to be found. Where are they now?
Pistol packing mamas.
Yeah, before we get in there is the 2 ladies who are trying to hawk their potions and whatnot for $2 more than a waka. Fucking disgraceful.
They're a weird little sway dance.
Yeah. They're Mallow Mart from fucking Twilight Princess. The one says, now there are fiends and monkeys in there. You'd better watch out. So just kind of painting the scene things are not so great in Zanarkand and it's affecting business.
Yeah. And inside is Isaru, right?
Yeah, he's where the grannies were standing in kind of I guess it's kind of a treasure room where most of the people were kind of hanging out before you go into the trials, the trials area.
Yeah, it's right before the trials area, yeah. But he tells us that the monkeys that are there have been multiplying and it's causing trouble for the tourists, it's causing trouble for the industry, and basically everybody has left, right? Because they just can't stand around being around the monkeys now. And I like that he just kind of delivers this information and then goes, now I have to go, goodbye, and leaves.
Use that information as you will. I'm not going to be around here for it.
I do like that while they're having this conversation, Riku says like, so Pop got told off by Uni and outsmarted by monkeys. That's gotta hurt.
When she also has the idea that like, oh, hey, if the monkeys are driving these people out, we could encourage them to go further. That's a little joke for my UK people. It's a little burn it, Keir Starmer. Take that. Anyway, I encourage.
Yes.
I can't do a Keir Starmer voice. I encourage the monkeys to go further by procreating and then getting the tourists out. Right. So we get a
Displacing the tourists by moving in more monkeys.
That's right.
Gentrifying
Like the
it with
little
monkeys.
old lady who swallowed a fly. Like soon we're gonna have to get rid of the monkeys by bringing in, I don't know, a dog or something.
Yeah. Right.
I like that Yuna says, "Now you behave yourselves," as if like talking to the monkeys. That was before like Riku kind of hatches this plan.
Yeah. So we get
Leave room for Yevon.
we get Operation Monkey. Love is in the air. Pair up each monkey with its soulmate. If making monkeys happy isn't reason enough, who knows? There just may be something in it for you too. Hint: pay close attention to their names. And
We've met some of these monkeys before. I think if we were getting pickpocketed.
my
last
yeah,
time.
they stole.
Okay.
They stole all our
Yeah.
gil. I don't think. Did this time? Did they steal your gil? Is that like a?
I heard the cha-ching sometimes.
I often
maybe
heard
they still do?
the cha-ching, but anytime I looked at my guild count, it was exactly the same.
Respectable.
Yeah. So,
I know that the ones who have the little hearts above their head will not steal gil from you. Like you're fine to interact with those.
I've talked to like a bunch of the monkeys, so I could be wrong. I mean, it's one of those things where this is like a small like detail throughout it that like is probably impactful on your playthrough, but it's also like this is a very Final Fantasy X-2 mini game where it's like just find like, oh, Rosemary and Thyme, like those two monkeys and stuff. But and like it's like a series of like trial and error, like trying to remember where each monkey is, or you can just look at a guide and see exactly where they are, which is what I did and I recommend doing.
I love the way Yuna holds the monkey as she's carrying it around.
It just reminds me
He's
of
just
like
kind of holding it right in front of her.
Arms
Like,
length,
my cat's
like-
about to throw up, so I pick him up off the couch and then run him over to
Exactly.
like where there's some.
She has to hold him at arm's length because she's seen Werner Herzog's The Kingdom of God. She knows that monkey is just aiming to poop all over her if possible.
and she's wearing those shoes. You can't get poop on those.
True.
Speaking of carrying monkeys around, because the game works is like, thankfully, you just have to walk around until you find a monkey alone. So just with the cloud of hearts above
Yeah,
their
at
head.
any given time, there's like 6 screens that we can kind of walk back and forth through, starting in the like treasure hallway, going all the way to where we fought Unalesca. And at any given time, only one monkey is like, I don't want to say ready to be mated, but like you can only introduce one monkey to another monkey at a time.
Only one is currently gooning.
There's only one that's currently gooning, so you have to find the gooning monkey.
There's one out there. Yeah, there's always one bachelor available to be to find. It's basically a speed run of many seasons of The Bachelor.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, we cut out all the drama. We just put them next to each other.
Yeah.
And we have to find their appropriate suitors. And yeah, like it's pretty straightforward. It's just kind of look at the guys so you don't have to run back and forth as much.
I
Yeah,
do
I
think
mean,
the names are cute.
I agree. Yeah.
I thought those are pretty good.
I was just gonna say it is a little bit annoying to, especially because like you have to use the elevator sometimes. So even if you do the like optimal path, you're still gonna do a lot of backtracking.
Yeah.
I wish
It's
they
not-
had them all in like one room or something.
It's not a particularly like engaging minigame. Like Curtis said, the names are very cute. We can kind of like go down the list, like Birch and Sequoia, Spring and Autumn, Dusky and Dawn, Rosemary and Thyme, which I already mentioned, Terran and Sky,
like terrain.
yeah.
Some of them get weirder and weirder kind of as you go on.
Minnie and Max, which is pretty good. Summer, Winter.
Not related to the Mickey-verse.
I did like Peak and Valley.
yeah, that's cute.
I didn't get this reference. Maybe I'm just dumb, but Canis and Felina.
Canis is Latin for dog. Yeah.
Oh,
Dog cat.
yeah, that's
Canine and feline.
a bit of a stretch.
I dropped the Japanese version in the chat. If
Oh,
anyone
okay,
knows,
that's
you
what
can
that is.
interpret.
Okay, cool.
If you're curious, it
If you
shows the
even
guide.
care.
if you even care. Like, I'm not sure, like, their names, so, like, I'm not sure if it'll be super obvious what they were supposed to be in Japanese.
Yeah, Arrow and Quiver I liked. Gold and Silva. And I thought...
Silvaguna?
Silvaguna. Well, when I first
Silvaguna.
read it wrong, and I thought it was Sylvia, and I was like, is it going to be, like, something really fucked up, like Sylvia and, like, Oven or something? Or... There's Luna and Soul. And yeah, there's 12 pairs of monkeys. So if you like running back and forth to interact with 24 monkeys, then this is the mini game for you.
Yeah, I'm not like I don't really know these
Names.
Japanese words. Yeah.
I did notice one thing. Actually, I double noticed this, which is I think it's funny with the Ultimate Omega is that there's like with every Ultimate there's like a page of like 60 secrets from Final Fantasy X-2 or whatever.
You won't believe number 49.
But in the Omega, like there was one like they're starting to highlight just glitches. Like, oh, there's a glitch here. Like this is your publication. You're just outing glitches in this game.
Nice.
But there's a way to I noticed there's a lot of weird glitches in the animation. So if you like tap the joystick the opposite direction that Una is facing, she'll just hold the monkey to her side like a frickin' like hoagie.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I did that when you go to save or something.
Yeah, like you just hold it like a weird little telephone.
Yeah. She just like puts it on her like belt, almost like. I think that happened to me. Yeah, that's.
I just
great.
like the implication of that's how you hold a hoagie.
I also really like the.
She's just running around the sandwich. Here it is.
I was gonna call out the implication of like how the only way that these monkeys who are within like I don't know, like 3 rooms of one another, the only way that they're gonna meet and mate is if we actively like pick them up and bring them to them.
Right.
And then I was like, but isn't that also kind of like why pandas are so endangered? Is like we're literally putting 2 pandas next to each other, like please.
I'm begging you.
I'm begging you. Yeah, hell yeah.
Apparently there's also a bug in which if you start this mission and like do it partial because Usaru leaves, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you return to if you like leave and then come back, I think at some point like maybe in like do a mission, come back, Usaru will be there, and then there's like an opportunity in which you can actually like talk to Usaru while holding a monkey. And when you're talking to him, it'll just teleport, like it'll zoop across the room to where if you've already paired that monkey up or something like that.
Oh, that's cool. I thought you were gonna say it
to
just
where
like
where spawn point is, and it'll just like teleport back to her hand, like when she's done talking to him.
I thought you were gonna say that like it just spawns double the monkeys, so you have to like pair them up like a bunch. You can crash the game if you do this 5 times because it's a memory overload. But after you fully pair all of the monkeys, unless there's something anyone else wanted to say about this riveting mini game.
Are there new items here now that
there's a lot of treasure chests. An interesting one that I saw was like L bombs, I think they're called, which just damages like all enemies on another party. But there is a lot of good loot here.
I used some attack items during this section. Not like Zanarkand, but like the gameplay that we did today. They are not impressive, I will say. Like I think, at best.
To me, what this says is like, hey, have fun mixing this with other stuff or looking up a guide for mix, because that's probably where like these things become good.
You know, we talked a little bit last time because when we completed Clasco's section in the Calmlands, we get the Alchemist dress sphere. I haven't used it yet, but I did look through the abilities, right?
So good.
There's so many good things. We were talking about how like the mix is like the most powerful thing in the game. But some of the abilities are to increase the strength of items. So I bet like what with like increasing the strength of items, shorter item usage times, and et cetera, I bet like those kind of weak attack items might actually be decent in the hands of the alchemist, maybe.
I was playing around with it. I didn't like make note of it because I'm like, there's definitely a guide that tells me everything, but I was just kind of experimenting with it. And there was a couple of times where I did like, oh, you do like 7 water attacks in a row, which we did in Final Fantasy X. With like, there were certain bosses where it's like, use this strat and you win. Combine 2 fish fins or whatever. What's cool in this is I'm pretty sure it builds up the chain as well, which can be used to good effect. But yeah, I think you're exactly right, Curtis. Like, I think a lot of these are just like the power is definitely in doing something good with mix.
You got the Alchemist last episode?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do think I used to use it, I think, because you could just spam Albed potions for free, if I
Yep.
remember correctly,
Uh-huh.
which is the best.
The to me, the thing that I always thought was really cool with it, I think we talked about it last time too, is that normal potion and high potion mixed to be like a mega potion or something.
Yep.
Where it's like 2,000 HP for everybody, like ultra
Yeah.
cheap.
Mhm.
Just like, ugh.
It's so good. It's
Incredible.
really good.
It's so
and
good.
like to the point where like I was
Or
trying
was
to
it
level
Albed?
up some
Does that
skills.
make an Albed potion?
Yeah, I think that's functionally the same thing as an Albed
Okay,
potion. I
okay.
can't remember the specific numbers with
Yeah, me
Albed
neither.
potions,
I
but
don't
Albed
remember.
potion also cures statuses of certain
Okay.
kinds, I
oh
think.
yeah, that's that good shit.
Yeah.
It does not cure statuses, if I remember correctly, but I was just kind of spamming it because, like, the way I'm looking at it, I'm like, all right, my buddy Owaka's got like 75,000 gil, still in debt. I need to help him out. I need to buy potions, so I need to level up Riku's mix skill anyway. Every time I'm just making mega potions so that I can go back to the Celsius, buy some more potions
Yep.
from him, and that's just like my new strat now. It's like, oh, I can take down these enemies instantly, so let me just like roll through and get some AP out of it while I'm here.
I do have an interesting, not question, but something I was thinking about today, right? I did spend, like, right before we started recording, I spent all my money at Owaka's to try to get that.
To try and
you know,
get
that
Captain
debt down.
Toad's treasure tracker.
That's right. That's right.
He's selling it at a premium price.
So I spent a bunch of money and I got down and I have about, and like, you know, before I say it, preemptive nice, about 69,000 left, right?
Nice.
But it's like 69,089 or something like that. And I said, it would be funny if for the podcast I could get that number to exactly 69,000. But there's not very many different like
or
prices.
6969 somehow.
Or 69.69, but there's not many different prices that Owaka sells things for. He
Break
only
out
sells them-
the Excel spreadsheet, baby.
Yeah,
We got to figure
he
this
only
shit
sells them
out.
for like 89, 249, 149, or just 49. And so I was sitting here and I was thinking, what numbers can you get to with only those, right? And there is like, this is a little bit of a diversion, but it's part of the game, so it's not a diversion. It's serious. But
I'm
there
glad we have
is-
a former math teacher here as well,
Yeah.
so you can check your
Really?
work and make sure
I'll give you that math
Yeah.
knowledge.
I was gonna say because I remember seeing one time on YouTube a problem like this about like what number of chicken nugget orders can you make out of the like ones that they give you? Like what numbers are inaccessible, right? Like can you make 13 chicken nuggets from an order, right? If you don't have as many constituent like numbers to build from. And so I was like, I can't anymore, but if I started, could I spend exactly $31,000 at Owaka's out of only the like 4 numbers that I'm given to do it? And I think it would be really hard, but maybe because the number's big enough, so you'd have like a lot of like opportunity to even it out and like prepare yourself.
What I fucking love about this game, and particularly this section of game where we're doing the fun monkey mini game, is that the mini game is so fucking tedious that Curtis is like, "Yo, I just invented a new cool math game to fucking like make this shit more interesting."
Before we move on from the monkeys,
Yeah, we got to read that beautiful poem when we
it's-
made all of the monkeys
yes,
fall
you're
in
right.
love.
did you actually interact with any of the monkeys after you've paired them up?
No, I was on the first fucking airship.
They
out
have
there.
unique dialogue for each of them.
Oh, I didn't know it was unique. I interacted with one of them, but I didn't know that all of
Yeah.
them had unique ones.
So, like, the first one is Birch and Sequoia, and it says, Birch is eternally grateful, and Sequoia is delirious with joy.
They are
Those aren't even tree
KISSING in a tree.
Yeah. That would have been so much better because that
Listen.
would have been related to the tree thing.
Listen, Square,
Um,
my line's open. I probably won't answer it because it'll be a number I don't recognize, and I don't answer those calls because they're usually bad news.
But you get kind of a personality from these weird monkeys. Max is on cloud 9, while Minnie looks relaxed.
Cute.
Valley is burning with passion. Peak shrieks with delight.
Ooh,
Yeah, that's
all right. Feel like we probably should give them privacy.
Candace's heart is racing. Felina is blushing.
Oh, that's cute.
Quiffer seems calm now. Arrow is appeased.
Arrow is appeased.
Whomst amongst us doesn't love to be
Appeased.
appeased?
Yeah.
But yeah, now that we it's just like Final Fantasy 1. Now that we've like done the big thing, we finally get the opening crawl to the game.
Yes.
That's right. We've built the bridge between these.
This
monkeys.
is the bridge.
We got a nice little pixel art here. Yeah,
that's right.
Of monkeys gooning one another. It says, their world was veiled in darkness, but now, as monkey love blossoms and grows, a monkey full future surely lies ahead. This is their home, and they will protect it, now and always.
I'm gonna have to do an edit of like one of the Final Fantasy scrolls, but it's just them looking over like the bridge.
I wonder if I could like hack the ROM and just change the text. I don't know how text works in those games. I know in older RPGs it's not just like, oh, a text file that says it. Like sometimes it's just like fucking sprites or something weird. But maybe I'll look into that. But yeah, we scored the accessory, the Soul of Thamasa.
Oh yeah, that is a
magic
it
booster.
strengthens spells but doubles their MP cost.
I literally did this part today, so you'd think I'd like remember everything from it.
With a memorable part like this, how could you forget?
Yeah, I know. But when you said the world is veiled in darkness, I was like, oh my god, it really does start the same way that Final Fantasy 1 starts for the NES.
Yeah, it's really fucking
the world
cute.
is veiled in darkness.
It's so dramatic and like obviously on purpose. Like Stephen earlier was saying, the developers did not intend any of this. They absolutely intended to make it so melodramatic here.
Yeah, this part they intended.
So good, so good. Listen, I have no problem speaking on behalf of all the fine developers of every Final Fantasy game as if I have any authority to say any of it. I will absolutely do that every time.
Well, look, if there's one thing that we can be sure of is that anytime I feel like the developers of Final Fantasy have done something wrong, it is directly their fault. And anytime I feel like they've done something right, they didn't intend for it to be right. It just worked out that way. That's the only thing I'm sure of. But that was Zanarkand, baby.
Yeah. So back on the Celsius.
So then we return and it's going to be only monkeys, right?
Yeah.
I really hope there's like lots of monkeys when we get back in chapter 3.
When we get back to the Celsius, Riku says a thing that I found interesting enough to post to Twitter earlier, where she says, "Isn't monkey love a beautiful thing?" And I was like, ain't it though?
Yeah.
Can monkey love bloom on the battlefield?
Ooh.
Oh my god, like I love that the mission complete jingle plays as you are holding out Luna to Sol.
Yeah.
Or Sol to Luna. Without
sick.
like the mission complete pops up, it's just this weird romantic just shred. Luna is going ape. Sol looks very pleased.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Every monkey has found their soulmate.
That's right.
Heterosexual monkeys have all been accounted for.
We would be led to believe, I guess.
Next up on the plate, we have got to get 3 uniforms to get into that.
We got to do
cave.
the thing that we've been putting off for the entirety of chapter 2.
Well, I like, you know what? It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun covering this game as a podcast now because, like, you know, we do a little plot and then we have a whole bunch of just fucking around in the world and just doing like whatever.
It's a cycle of edging and gooning.
We are beginning the goon phase of the chapter. That's for sure. Yeah, so this is we're finally picking back up on the plot. We're getting the goon outfit. It really is the goon outfit.
Literally,
God,
it's impossible to not talk about gooning because we have to get
Fem
goon
goons.
outfits.
That's true.
You weren't here last week, Steven, and also it's not live at the moment, but we gooning has come back into our vocabulary.
It's
We did
back
a little
in
bit of
big
goofing
way.
on the word goonin', so
It's made a resurgence everywhere, I think.
Yeah,
everyone's talking about gooning, sweeping the nation. Everyone loves doing it.
The world is veiled in darkness.
Yeah, so you can do any of these parts in any order, obviously. I think that we'll
I think
probably go.
there's probably an expected, not even an expected order, but the way that the battles that lead to you getting the item kind of play out, I feel like the developers did intend for you to kind of go in a certain order, which the 100% guide does not follow at all. It feels like it follows it backwards in some ways, but no, it's not like one battle is super easy and then the other ones are all super hard. Like they were all like relatively easy, in my opinion.
Interesting, one of these battles is pretty easy, but it was the battle that made me stop trying to do the speed run, because in the speed run it's quite difficult, I found.
Oh, nice.
But that's just me though. I was not very good at it.
Yeah, I was not following 100%, so I actually had a little bit of difficulty with a lot of these bosses. But then I started listening to the podcast, so I was like, oh, right, I am supposed to do all that stuff I didn't do. So
No.
That'll
Who
do
cares?
it. You were like, yeah, I killed it in one Firaga, and I'm like,
I was going to say.
I spent like an hour on that boss.
Yeah, for all of these bosses, I once again found that Firaga is like coming in clutch.
It's that Pro ZD sketch where like you finally confront the
final boss, but you've done all of the side quests. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. It almost makes me want to, like, if I ever go through and do like something like stream every single Final Fantasy in a row or something and just do it like less zoomed in than the podcast. Like for this, I would probably just try and do like almost like a low level kind of challenge run of just being like, okay, well, obviously I could sit here and level up my black mage so that it's really easy, but what if I just only do battles as they come to me and don't like focus on a particular like strat? Like I think it'd be interesting because some of these bosses would be very interesting if you had to like work for them, I think.
Yeah, no, and I think that kind of, again, lends to this kind of like organic structure of the game where it's like you play a little bit and then you get to some bosses that are hard and you're like, oh, well, I'll go grind, but there's things I can grind on as opposed to me just wandering the same.
There's some plot to grind on instead of just like
the same beach over and over again.
Yeah.
The options that the game gives you for grinding are pretty good too, in my opinion, in the way that like, well, I guess it's not really grinding, but you can grind levels, obviously, for stats, right? You get more HP, get more attack, etc. But also, like, small side quests can give you, like, an item that will give you an edge. Because you have, like, so many options. It's not just that you can level up your stats. You also have, like, accessories, which, like, most games have accessories, so, like, whatever. But then you have various dress spheres. Maybe you have, like, a different dress sphere you can try or acquire. And then on top of that, there's also the abilities that you're learning in each dress sphere. Maybe one of those is the one that's going to give you the edge. I think last week we were talking about the mission at the Calmlands where you clear out Clasco's like ranch that he's going to use, right?
Yeah.
And I hadn't done it yet last time, so I did it today before I started doing the part of the game that I'm playing right now, and I went up against one of those the Corels, like the Queen Corel.
Dude, those Corels fucked me up.
Oh my god, they kept using fucking like Death Blaster or whatever over and over, and I was like, come the fuck on. And then I remembered that we just got a garment grid with death proof on it, and I was like, oh, fucking no problem.
Yeah, we mentioned that I think last week before we went to fight some of those dang Queen Corels in the monster arena.
Yeah, so I did in fact just equip the garment grid with death proof on it and just did one quick switch because those things have a lot of HP.
Yeah.
So I would just do like the switch real fast to get
especially if
death
they
proof.
oversoul, you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Now,
oh my god,
imagine if you could do that right before Unalesca.
Yeah, oh my god.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That would be just...
You're supposed to let yourself get zombified in that fight.
I know, but it's not easy.
Yeah,
I was in fourth grade when I was playing that game.
Yeah, try explaining that shit to a fourth grader.
Yeah. But like the point being that like that free-formness of being able to go around and try a lot of things, it kind of does work out if you're like, you know, willing to like put in a little bit of work to try out new loadouts and things like that.
I personally love that. Like that's so much fun. Like I like when games that are very straightforward, like if you do a challenge run of it, like you got to kind of think outside the box and have the mechanics work with you, which obviously they were developing this in that way. Like we can go through the way that we're doing it where we're just like, oh, we just fucking wiped this boss because we're over leveled. Or you can get into a situation where you're like, oh, I really need to like put the puzzle pieces together. Like there was the one battle that I was struggling with earlier where I was like, well, they're using lightning the whole time, and we just got like a lightning thing that I will reduce the damage for it so I won't at least get wiped, and I can put this accessory on Yuna so that she actually heals, so that way she can always throw a Phoenix down if she needs to. Like, I love that.
Right.
I think that's why I loved like the late game of Final Fantasy 13 so much, because like the developers clearly thought about like, okay, well, this is a really empowering like strategy that we give the players options to. What if we make the battle dependent on having to use that exact strategy? And what if we make it not a free fight even if you're using that strategy? Like that shit is so fucking cool to me.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%.
And also the game has given us a ton of accessories where it's like, to me, it's reading like, we're going
So
through the 100% guide. So it's like, oh, I have like 7 black chokers. Like, I can't even equip all of these. Like, I can just sell them, I guess. But I'm also like, there's probably situations where it's like, okay, well, they probably didn't do this mission. So we got to give them this, like, at this point in the game, just in case of this.
Speaking of which, from the Zanarkand monkey mission, the item that we get for completing it is the Soul of Thamasa, which we've been talking about it the whole time, that like you can pretty much Firaga your way out of any boss thus far or whatever. Soul of Thamasa doubles the cost of all of your black magic or whatever, but it also doubles the power of it as well. So you can start casting like 4,000 or 5,000 damage at a time at this point in the game, which is just far above any boss's max HP that we have right now.
It seems wild. I did not equip it, and especially with like, if you have a fully leveled up black mage, you have MP absorb as well. So it's essentially having more MP that you have to use is kind of a non-issue.
Yeah. Well, I will say, at least for me, I did have to use MP absorb against those Corels because they had like so much HP, and I'd have to absorb twice to use one Firaga, so it's at least a pain in the ass.
Sure,
but it is still doable. Yeah,
it's the kind of thing where big number seems good, but it's like, but what if you just use Firaga twice without having to use MP absorb? How optimal is that? You know, it's funny.
Right.
Anyway, before we head to the Jose Temple, do you guys think we should take a quick break?
It's probably a good time for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get this monkey stank off of us a little bit.
That's right. All right. Well, I will see you when we get back.
All right, I'll tell Barkeep to get the hose and start hosing us down.
Bring out the high pillows.
Sleep tight.
So speaking of 9/11, we can go to one of 3 locations.
This game exists in a post 9/11 world.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, everything is post 9/11 because it changed everything. So you can jot that down, Alex.
All right, I'm writing that down.
So I think that we should go to Jose Temple first.
All right, last episode I was really religious. This episode I'm going to be real patriotic. We're going to hit we're checking all the boxes. We're trying to break into the conservative podcast sphere.
That's right. Yeah.
Before we continue to Jose, I did want to, while we're here, because this is just around the corner from the Moonflow, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So remember, Curtis, when we were when we were talking to Tobley,
That's right. Take it away.
You said he starts a sentence with a conjunction, where he says like,
"But the tickets aren't selling."
Like, I'm gonna if we keep this up, we're gonna end up with the empty house.
And I remember in the episode, I was like, "What the fuck, Tobley? You can't just start a sentence with a conjunction. That's not appropriate."
So as I was like editing the episode, of course, I plonk in the voice clip straight from the source data, and I noticed that there is a line that he says that goes into that. I was like, did we just miss it? And so I look up like a playthrough, both on PS2 and remastered, and they just skip it. They have a recorded line of Tobley saying,
"Ooh, I'm in big trouble. I'm supposed to host a seriously sizable show here."
And then, but the tickets aren't selling. And like,
that's crazy.
I am waiting for a bus.
So once again, through numbskullery, we have discovered something brand new about Final Fantasy on this podcast.
Yeah. Maybe this is breaking news. Maybe this is something people already know.
Wait, what's the line?
Curtis is gonna do the age-old strat of typing it into Google to see.
Oh no, I'm in big trouble.
I just love that this is
supposed to be hosting a seriously sizable show here.
I want to check the development date. Okay, Sonic Adventure 2 came out in 2001.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is just before this. Also, I believe after 9/11. Initial release date, June 18th, 2001. So just before 9/11.
Just before.
That's why they were able to escape from the city.
Yeah, no results.
Interesting. But the reason I bring up Sonic Adventure 2 or Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is because this is some shit that like that game did, where like if you watch the cutscenes or you just play through it, they just overlap. They're like a fucking podcast talking over each other constantly because like they didn't time the animations correctly with like what they're saying. So it's just
at
like
least the English version, yeah.
Yeah. The Japanese version probably is better with it, but yeah, they were just like, fuck it, we're not changing that. We're not
like
making
they did with
exactly
with Tuna by my side.
They also gave their main character a gun. That's
they did later give, in a lot of ways, Final Fantasy X-2 would not exist if not for Sonic Adventure 2.
That's
also, this is the first sequel, like true sequel number 2 of a Final Fantasy game. They probably stole that from Sonic. They're like, well, if fucking Sonic can do it, then why can't we?
Yeah.
Sonic has multiple games that are Sonic 2. And they're
Sonic
all
can
great.
Jump. Yuna can jump.
I am really fucking excited for Final Fantasy X-2 and Knuckles.
Okay, so Dirge of Cerberus rips off Shadow the Hedgehog. Got you. Just making sure.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Yeah, Vincent is just the Shadow the Hedgehog of Final Fantasy, but way less cool.
Debatable. Yes, Curtis?
So we can either go to
Back to Jose
Temple, or we can go to Mushroom Rock Road. Either way, but either way, we need to make our way to Jose High Road, which, as far as I know, Jose High Road is just the northern section of Mushroom Rock Road at this point,
yeah.
Right?
Which is why I thought that like the guide was kind of like out of order. I think.
I see. Yeah, because I think technically Mushroom Rock Road is like the area off to the side, like where Yibel's always protecting or whatever.
Yeah.
And this like edge near the ocean is actually Jose High Road. It's just not labeled that on the map.
I've accidentally stumbled into this moment way earlier, like several weeks ago,
Really?
From the other direction that I went into, specifically like the Josie Temple one, I think.
Okay. So there are at the various ends of the high road, there are LeBlanc goons who will like call us the dull wings, very rude, and mention that they're like on a mission, right? But as we walk down the high road, we'll stumble into a cutscene of two. What are they called? Are they called fem goons?
Fem goons or she goons or
she goons. That's right.
There's like different classes of them, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, these are like the stronger ones. I forget what they're. There's like goonettes and
yeah, I think goonet is the lowest ranking goon. Let me see. I have a screenshot here somewhere of it. So
yeah, where they in this fight they will be called femgoons.
Yeah,
okay.
femgoons. Yeah, the highest level. I'm pretty sure if you scan
They're like
them,
first class goon.
If you scan them, I don't have it specifically in front of me, but it says something like, "These are the highest ranking goons in the squad, yet their salary still sucks." I'm like, God damn, ain't that just the fucking way?
So we overhear them talking to each other that they have lost a sphere, right? Like they were put in charge of something, they've lost it, and they don't know what they've done with it, where it's gone. They're looking around for it. And the party overhears that, and they're like, that's an opportunity for us to go in there and find whatever they are missing and take it from them, right?
Yeah.
And Yuna says, let's find it first. And Pain says, somebody's been turning Yuna into a bad girl, and then looks right at Riku, and then Riku's like, who? Who could that be? And we get the mission start like after that.
There's also a line that one of the Shigun says to the other where it's like, we got to find that sphere or Boss will be furious. We might even ... get the heal.
I love that. I love this.
Which they call back later. I'm pretty sure Pain, when we're back on the Celsius, is just like, oh yeah, I bet they all got the heal after that one.
Yep. But yeah, there's really nothing to this mission. It's just kind of like we need to walk down the high road a little bit to find the sphere, which is just...
Objective, find the missing sphere. Swipe the syndicate's lost sphere. As long as you're making a scene, you may as well nab their clothes too.
That's right, yeah. So we have to go get them. And then I was thinking about it too. I was like, there are several games in which you have to beat somebody up to steal their clothes or whatever, but we don't really ever see like the aftermath of getting your clothes stolen, which I guess we do in this scene actually. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking about it. I was like, what if somebody beat me up and stole my clothes? I would be so upset. Like, what if I was out? Like, what if I was out somewhere, right? Like,
I will
I have to get
say,
all the way home. It's cold right now. God, that would suck.
Friend of the
It's
show,
terrible.
my buddy Jay, who you may have seen wearing the Binal Banassi shirt and dabbing,
Yeah.
and we also have emotes of him. Good buddy of mine. He curates the Drink and Draw Philly, Drink or Don't and Draw Philly, which is a cool event that everyone should check out.
Oh, yeah.
When we were in high school, one time he was waiting at the bus stop in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania, and some guys came up to him and they were like, "Yo, man, that's a really nice hoodie." And he was like, "Aw, thank you guys so much. That's so nice." And they're like, "Yeah, it's really nice. Give it to me." And he was like, "Ha ha ha, what?" And they're like, "Yeah, give it to me." And he's like, "Are
Oh
you
my
guys serious?"
God.
And they're like, "Yes." And he's like, "What?" And they punched him in the belly. And then he's like, and he just gave them their hoodie as anyone would in that situation. And he was just like, "Yeah, that's how I
man.
lost my hoodie." I was like, "God damn, that's fucking
That's
sad,
so
dude."
lame.
Yeah, so we might have to get him on the pod to talk about the
Yeah.
what it's like to get your clothes stolen from you. Maybe they needed it to steal
I
back
was
one of
gonna
their
say they
spheres.
needed to get into his chateau.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I only heard one side of the story. Maybe Jay was in the wrong on that one.
Did
being a real
Jay get the
goon.
heel? We need to know.
Jay is I would lovingly call Jay a goon. Yes.
Man of a fine class.
Yeah.
That's right.
Love that guy. Anyway, yeah, we just kind of get into a battle, but there's a little cutscene here before it, right?
I love this cutscene.
After
'Cause
we do find something.
Right. We do find the sphere. It's just sitting there on the ground. Yeah.
The floral falal.
Yeah, which is Yuna's special dress sphere, right?
Yeah.
Like we
Right.
found Pains earlier.
Yeah.
Did y'all
did
check
you
it out?
did you
I did.
all use floral falal?
I did.
Yes.
Do you like the delicious pun that's in that one about her you know, like what was the one for Pain? It was Full Throttle. There's like the main body of Full Throttle, and then there's like the left and right section or whatever. Did you see what the left and right section are called for Yuna?
It is the right pistol and the left pistol.
Which is a part of a flower and also the name of a gun.
Yeah, that's cute. I was not smart enough to
Congrats, Final Fantasy X too. That's good.
very
That's
cute.
funny.
Yeah.
Good at localizing, everyone.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah, the floral falal is actually what I requested specifically to come for because it is, in my opinion, Yuna's like Pokemon evolution. Like it is just her like mega evolution, and I think that I definitely, when I was a kid, did a run where it was just me transforming into that every single battle and just being like, all right, we're a giant flower goddess and we're gonna kill everything. So
Yeah, it's like the final form of Flabebe from Pokemon.
It's a
There
little bit
is
of like
something,
it's a weird combination of like a floral design, and I like these like kind of weird like almost like from like eyeballs from a Tool video at the floating above her.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But it also kind of evokes a little bit of like Birth of Venus type of thing.
It's funny that you mentioned that like she's like a flower goddess, right? Because like when I was like playing it, I was like, there is something very like godlike about the way that she's like floating in the air with like a posing or whatever, you know what I mean? Like very like front facing. It's very otherworldly.
Yeah, I think that there's something like really beautiful and feminine about each of their like special forms, like even Pain's, where it's like kind of this like cloak of daggers that she kind of like, I don't know, I always envisioned her like dancing.
She looks
around
kind of
with
like
it.
a femme Nero from like Dirge Cerberus, like, you know, it's like the straight jacket, but still like kind of protected in this weird kind of insect like a praying mantis almost.
Yeah, did you
exactly.
guys read the item description of it?
No.
It says each time the floral falal blooms, Yuna's rot advances. It has bloomed twice
son of
already.
a
With the
bitch.
third bloom, she will become a true goddess. And I, for one, welcome Yuna becoming the full rot goddess.
I mean, I would say, you know, Melania and the floral falal do have a lot of similar design.
I feel like Yuna could probably beat Melania pretty fucking easy, honestly.
I don't know.
She just has to get past that like that attack where she like
Yeah, waterfowl.
does, like, the
everyone
waterfowl.
figured
that
out how
one,
to do that by now.
yeah.
You just have a shield with good damage
Run
resist. You know?
backwards, and then you roll 3 times inwards, right?
Yeah, just roll 3 times and you're fine.
Did you have the figurine, Steven?
I did not. I unfortunately at the time I didn't have the money to purchase it.
that's
But
so cool.
it is like I remember
that's
when it
wild.
came out and I was like I would love that, you know.
Yeah, that's really sick. That's so
So
cool.
she also has like
I'm looking it up right now.
there's like obviously like the large flower with like the 5 petals behind her, but then there's also like this like crazy like white flowering robe or something that she has going on. It's wild. It's like
This looks way better
Yeah.
than her wedding dress did in Final
Oh,
Fantasy
yeah.
X.
Yeah.
And no disrespect to that wedding dress. That was nice for what it was. But like this...
It was Guado tastes. They're not
Yeah, that's
the
true. It's
same.
Guado sensibilities. Yeah. Yeah. Very, very, very formal. This is more business
she also
cash.
her like hair becomes white too in this. Interesting.
I do love that she goes fucking whatever Super Saiyan form
This
it
is a
where
Bjork
that's-
Yeah.
stage outfit.
For sure.
Yes. Fuck yes.
Combine the swan dress with her like biophilia like era.
I
Hell
don't
yeah.
I don't know if the colors were what they went for, but it gives me really Bahamut colors too.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that, but that's a really good point.
I always envisioned like Floral Falal Yuna riding Bahamut for whatever reason.
That would be fucking sick. That's
Yeah. It's just such a good design.
It's really good. It rocks. It's so sick.
Now all that being said,
I wonder what the lore significance of this thing is.
I would love to know more about it. That's what I wanted to look up. I wanted
Just
to look
chilling
up.
on the high road.
I wanted to look up if Amino did any artwork for it.
Now I will say, all the good things being said about its design, I will be a little fussy about it in another way, which is that I think the skill set, at least from the get-go, is not complete in a way. It's a little,
Like
it's a little
the
weak
mechanical
comparatively
game
to like
ones, you mean?
having the full team, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember almost never using full throttle on Pain only because it was usually a little too weak.
Yeah.
But I think the Floral Falal, you can kind of level it up. And also the names of the abilities are fun too. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've explored
wanna-
any of those.
Do you want to speak on it?
I have just a few. There's the Dream Pollen, the Sticky Honey, the Mad Seeds, the Half Death Petals, and the Silent White are abilities that are available.
You know what? I use it. I need to find a picture that I took of using it. Let me see.
But
here.
you also, so like the different pistols and things have different abilities. So you'll have like the Black Mage abilities on one and White Mage
Yeah,
abilities
right.
on
or like the
another.
status abilities on the other. Very similar to Full
the
Throttle.
White Mage one does have an ability called Tough Nuts. So,
Hell yes.
Oh, yes.
That was
actually,
my
you know
nickname
what?
in high school
I slightly
because
take
everyone
back
was
what I
always
said.
kicking me in the nuts, and I could take it.
I will slightly take back what I said. I think that Floral Falal is more useful than Full Throttle or Machina Ma that we'll get later. Machinima Ma? I'm not sure.
Machina Ma.
Yeah. In my opinion. Because all of Floral Falal's magic damage attacks are multi-target, which is like super handy. So you can get things like out of the way really quickly. And it does have a method of quickly sustaining itself. So it at least has those two things. So it's actually, I think it's pretty good as far as the special dress sphere goes. I guess like in my gameplay, I've never found any of the special dress spheres to be more handy than just having 3 characters of like
Yeah.
variant jobs. if
It's
that makes
not
sense.
your like back pocket. Oh, I'm gonna do this for the and launch some crazy overdrive that's gonna do it. Like no, it's
Right,
just
right.
an alternative way to play.
Yeah.
which is why I kind of used it more as like a challenge run than anything else.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I feel like it could be useful because some of them have like they'll heal your party.
Yeah.
They can like retreat. I'm like, oh shit, my other party members are getting complete creamed. I'm gonna like whip out like special dress sphere so they can
My
kind of
party
recover.
members are getting creamed. I better whip out the tough nuts.
So, Ormy finds us as we found the sphere, right? And I really like this scene because like Ormy has just like forgotten all of the bad blood between us and is just like, "Oh, you found the sphere. That's so kind of you guys. I really appreciate that."
I'm also
Yeah, that's
looking
where it
just at
was.
the screenshot of Ormy walking towards us, and I feel like it's the first kind of good look that we've really like had of him. And I do have to say that I think he might be the ideal peak performance male form. Like,
Yeah, I think so.
he
I think
looks so fucking good. He's got a tiny head. It's probably like armor, but he almost looks like the Juggernaut from like X-Men Evolution, except not wearing the helmet, so his head just looks really small, and I fucking love it.
He's a king. He's a king. But I just love his attitude that he's like perfectly willing to look past everything and just be like, "Hey, I appreciate that. You guys are all right." And then like,
Hey, you know, I had you guys all wrong.
yeah, and then like the party just doesn't say anything and just kind of like looks around and he's like, "Wait a minute, you're not gonna give it back?" Yeah, and the camera goes like
face.
right up into his face and
The
perfectly
nerve.
centers his head on the screen, and he says, "The nerve." That's so good.
It's really good seeing his face because it's very, very dumb. And there's a lot of points in the upcoming sections where he's kind of just off to the side and talking, and his mouth isn't particularly like well animated, and it's kind of just flapping, and it's so good.
Yeah, but Logos comes up behind. He's like, "All right, we have to, we got to get into a fight. We got to take this thing back." And we get into a fight with Logos, Ormy, and one Femgoon, right?
Yes.
When Logos comes through and is like, he says like, what did he say? The gull wings, and then Ormy's like, "These memes won't give back the sphere." It's like, so then we take it back, and then there's this one shot, like the timing of this, and there's a shot of Ormy's face going like this.
Yeah, it's so
Shocked
good.
Pikachu
So good.
face. Yeah.
It's basically the timing of like a Worthy Tunes bit where it's just like, oh. It's like, oh, we could do that. And on that note, take it back. It says Logos. Then we start.
And then we get into
start
a
the battle. And interestingly, in this battle, Ormy and Logos have like slightly differing scan descriptions. So for Ormy, which I also really found funny because they keep the animation during the battle when you're scanning them, and with Ormy he was like gearing up to throw his shield at us where he just spins around. It's like pirouette something, and he's spinning really, really fast, and I just scan it and he's just perpetually
just spinning in the
spinning the
scans.
entire
Make that
time,
an emote.
and I was just cracking up at that. But for Ormy, it says, "Furious that the Gullwins nabbed the sphere, he's ready for payback. He has high defense and HP, so
wow.
defeating him will take time." And for Logos, it says, "Exasperated by Ormy's asinine behavior, he attacks from a distance with his revolver." And his thing is that his defense and HP are low, but he's good at evading attacks. So,
Oh. Well,
Yep.
as far as Ormy's high HP goes, he has exactly one Firaga worth of HP.
yeah. It's interesting that they like contextualize it that way, because it's like Ormy has 1150 HP and Logos, who has low HP, has 1030 HP. So he's
So like almost as much. Yeah.
basically as much.
And if you have Soul of Thamas on, it's like half of a Firaga.
Yeah. You're not getting your money's worth out of it. You're doing some overkill.
Blast them.
That's right. So that's pretty easy. I will say that I do like their moves. I like the pirouette move that Ormy does. I think it's cool that Logos has a 9-hit shot move where he shoots all three of the gull wings in quick succession, like with a revolver, and it's like hands on it. He's doing like the quick revolver, like where you pull back the hammer and fire over and over and over. It's really cool. And I
The
was
old
like,
Ocelot strat.
Yeah, but it does
Wow.
like 2 or 3 damage per hit, so every character takes like 9 HP damage. So it's
Yeah,
like,
so
wow.
if you got hit with a follow-up on that like 10 chain, it would probably be like a KO, but luckily there's not really too much going on with the other characters in the battle.
yeah, right.
But yeah, after we get that, we get an interesting mission complete screen, which at first I didn't understand the context of it. I was like, that's weird. But we see
so weird.
Ormy and Logos running away, and then we just see like the default like citizen of Besaid like character model running along with them, and it's like, oh, we beat them up. And it should be noted as well, anytime we beat them in a battle, they don't like disappear into fireflies. They like fall over and then they run away. Sometimes they run into your character who's standing on the battlefield and it just like pushes them
has to, like,
off
path
screen.
around them.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But we just see the she-goon is running with them, or the femme-goon, and she is in a like the Besaid swimsuit outfit.
The camera is directly squared on her butt the entire
It's
time.
locked to her butt.
Nomura
Just,
was like, this is
completely
very
locked to it.
crucial to the scene. We need to have it squared directly up to her butt, her
Yep.
buttock.
It does feel like the developers are like, we don't really have any designs of people in their underwear. Is there any file we can use? I guess the Besaids are
They're like the skimpiest thing that we have possible. Well, I mean, they also
they
have
just
in
traded
the
out for the
PS2
Besaid
version,
in
the
PC. Like,
naked
it's-
pain model that Strong told us about.
Yeah.
But they're like, the closest we have is LeBlanc, and we can't really use her model here.
Yeah, but it is funny that they instead of like a different model to show you that we've stolen her clothes, they're like, just make it the Besaid character. It's
Like,
fine. Fuck
it's
it.
fine. No one gives a shit.
Yeah, no.
Everyone gets it.
But that's our first dress sphere. We have 2 more to go.
First Syndicate uniform.
That's right.
Yeah. We've liberated our first Syndicate
It does
uniform.
say you've liberated one. That's right.
I did get a random encounter on my way to find this sphere, and I did notice that the male goons are called Dr. Goon now.
Yeah.
Dr.
They are not a real
Dr.
doctor, but they
Goon.
are a real goon.
They're as real as like Dr. Pepper would be.
I got my master's in gooning.
Yeah, I minored in gooning, but it's my passion. So
So next we can go to Beacon Desert.
Well, now that we're on the Celsius, though, we can see one. I think Riku.
Riku,
I think
from this one. I would be interested to see if you do it in a reverse order, if it's always Riku, then Pain, then Yuna. I would imagine that's probably the case, and it's just like a series of flags. And
I
not
imagine it
reverse.
has to be Yuna last, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's what I would imagine. Wait, I didn't research it, but the Final Fantasy or the every FNFF standard, I did not research this.
But Riku's running around the deck or bridge, and she said, "It's fun to be the bully every once in a while."
I did like that.
Which is why I thought it was like specific to her, because it's just like I get to pretend to be the bad guy.
In this video, they did the desert first, and Riku has the unit. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
First, so
Fuck
yeah.
yes.
And Payne says, "I suppose Logos and company are getting the heal right about now."
I love that.
Because there's a running gag where every time we go to this guy's like, "Oh, if we don't do this, we'll get the heal."
Yeah, I do like that. So our next location that we can go to is Beacon Desert. It starts out. What's the name of the little robot Picket?
Yeah, Picket.
Yeah, it starts with a shot of Picket zooming across the desert and saying something in
Guilty
Albed,
Spark.
right? Which I have
343.
most of the word suspicious something detected.
Suspicious. Let's see if it's in the scripty.
Oh, we can also talk to Riku again, and she says, these Syndicate duds are super baggy, which is an interesting... They're always talking about how shitty the quality of the of these clothes are.
Oh, okay.
Was it signal? Suspicious signal detected?
Oh, it could be, yeah.
Pickett says, "Yes, danger, suspicious signal detected."
Okay. So we see the little robot Picket flying by, screaming that, and we are plopped into the settlement, right? But if we try to talk to the guy who lets us go out on the digs, he's like, you've shown up to help us with our problem. Go talk to Nautila. I can't let you go anywhere yet.
Yeah.
And so if we talk to her, she says like, hey, I appreciate you showing up, but I have a special assignment for you today. So things have been like showing up in the oasis, like things have been washing to the shore, right? And we need you to go and
stuff has been washing up there. I'd appreciate if you looked into it. I guess it's someone got sucked up by sin and woke up.
yeah, right. Because this is the location that like Tidus wakes up.
One of the oases.
Yeah,
Who knows?
oases.
The pun for the mission time thing. What are we doing here? Too
What
late
are
to
we
say
doing
no
here?
now. So it's off to check out the oasis for Nautila.
Thomas Wooder.
Yeah, what are we doing here? Yeah, that pun doesn't make sense. If anyone gets in your way, hurt first, ask questions later. Do you?
Investigate the oasis and report back.
Yep.
And then we talk to the mission that are basically our little what do you call them?
The hover driver.
The hovercraft men.
Yeah. And our only option is to go to the oasis. Like we can't go to any of the expanses. Or
Yeah, it's
anything like that.
or we can say nowhere thanks. So it's like you are locked
Right,
into this.
But We show up at the Oasis. We get a little establishing shot of it, and then we immediately see that there is a dress sphere, or it is a dress sphere, but we can tell that it's a sphere on the edge of the Oasis, right?
Yeah, we found
and there's a very
Riku's special dress sphere, mocking him.
Yeah, it's Riku's special dress sphere. That's right. I do like the screen where you get it. Like, there is an opportunity to move around for about one full step of Yuna's before you go into the cutscene where you grab it. So like, it's like very, very small.
I was actually before I picked it up, I was gonna talk to like Pain and Riku, and I think Pain was like, I don't think we're the only sphere hunters here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't even try that. I was just like, gotta get that sphere.
Gotta get it.
Rise and grind. We gotta get that sphere.
But it is a Machina Ma, Riku's special dress sphere. Did you all use this one?
I forgot to fucking try this one. I feel foolish.
I like this one a lot.
Yeah,
this is like a
this
very
is
cool
the
design.
very it feels very much like the Eidolons or whatever the summons are.
Yeah.
In 13.
It's a Zero Suit Riku.
Yeah,
It is Zero Suit Riku
Oh yeah!
on top of
Holy shit!
on top of Hecaton, pretty much.
Yeah.
I like the way that like she's kind of at this like inverted like 15-degree angle or whatever, or like the opposite if you're counting from zero, you know. She's
Only any of us here were good at math.
The fourth quadrant or whatever, you know. She's like aiming downward.
Yeah, she's kind of like leaning over, kind of like on all fours almost. Like,
it's weird. It's a weird way to like conceive of writing a machine.
Yeah, I also like it too. Again, this is maybe me looking too far into it, but when you summon it, it kind of looks like you go underwater. And I know that they found a lot of the Machina like underwater. So it kind of is like her pulling it out and, you know, riding it to destroy things. So you get some cool missiles and electric blasts.
Yeah, it almost looks like I'm looking at it more carefully, and it almost looks like it was ripped out of something, because the main body legs actually look like just human arms that were ripped off of mech, and then there's like a giant like tail, but underneath it, kind of underneath its belly, it looks like there's almost like wires and stuff just kind of dangling out of it.
Yeah,
as if this thing was like maybe part of something or plugged into something else.
It's really cool. I really like this design a lot. I also like that
weird dinosaur.
The animation for queuing up moves, like when you like input a move with the main body of Machina Ma, it just shows Riku having like a little screen and like tapping in like instructions, like she's like coding up the attack that's getting ready to happen, and I love that.
That's really sick. I am watching just to like see the actual animation and see it in like real time and what the dress sphere can do. I'm watching like a wild playthrough using a mechanic that I completely forgot about, because whoever's doing this one has a team of Riku, a Chocobo, and a Tonberry, and I was just like, oh right, that's the thing that we could be doing with like the creature creator or whatever. And I was just like,
oh wow,
I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, oh yeah, never mind.
I found a someone cosplayed as Riku writing Machina Ma.
That's so
sick. That's sick
last year at
that's
Acon 2022.
Yeah, that's something that like anytime I'm seeing any new dress sphere or something, I'm like, it must have been like, it must be so cool to be a cosplayer and be like, oh, I can just do all of Pain's fucking dress spheres. Like I can do like the super sick like floral falal like Yuna. Like that shit is so fucking cool.
Cowboy
Tifa, exactly.
Yeah, I will say like I do think, where was I going with that? Wait, scratch that. Alex, edit that part out.
No.
Scratch that. Let's talk about right before the battle, Yuna's just got her fucking gun, where I'm like, oh yeah, I've been just Black Mage Yuna the entire time, so I completely forgot that she has a gun in this game, and that is her like defining like characteristic of this game, that I have not touched gunners since like the first episode of this podcast.
I realized, like, one of the last things I did, like, when I went to Gagazet, like, in my playthrough today, I realized, I was like, wait a minute, I have never equipped a garment grid outside of the first one. Like, I've never changed garment grids ever, and I don't even have Gunner in that garment grid. So when I was, like, setting up new ones for the characters, I was like, oh yeah, Gunner.
Yeah, that's right.
I did that too as I was testing out these special dress spheres. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I should probably use these other, like, because I was getting the undeterred path or whatever that was.
Unerring path, yeah.
Unerring path. And I was like, oh wait, I have none of these are in use, so I should probably like choose one that's a little better than the starting one.
Yeah, I keep wanting to call it First Act, but I think that's just the name of a
Starting
cheap
Steps or
guitar
something like
company. So,
Cheap guitar company that also makes like really nice guitars, weirdly.
oh really?
Yeah, I saw a band one time and they were playing a First Act, and I like recognized the logo from like the crowd, and I was like, is this person like ironically playing a First Act guitar as they're like touring with like The Fall of Troy or whoever it was? And then I like looked into it. I was like, no, they actually have like really good high value fucking guitars, but most of their
They
business
should play
is
well if you set them up right.
Yeah. I mean, I just remember having them come into the music store, and like the music store that I worked in, we wouldn't even buy them because we're like, this shit is not worth selling because we'll just have to constantly like fix them when they come in.
Right.
But we pick up the Machinima back to current day Una, not future Una messing around with all the new gear we got. Logos is here in the desert.
Of course.
Saying, well, fancy meeting you here. You can lead it going to water, but you can't make it drink.
I like how that completely doesn't land, and they're just like, what the fuck is this dude talking about?
Yeah, I like that they like no sell it in the way that they also don't like look at the camera and go, "This guy, right? What is he talking about?" They barely sit on it for like a second.
No one says anything, and he just says, "Enough of this nonsense."
Yeah, Riku just says,
like, move on.
and Payne's like, "Yo, those are some nice uniforms."
Right,
because he's with two of the Fem goons.
And then,
oh, that's 2 in 1 go.
Yeah, you would think.
I feel like, in general, Final Fantasy X and X-2, I am not a huge fan of the camera direction in a lot of the scenes. But we talked about this in Final Fantasy X, that like, it's the first time they've been able to do that ever. It's a new science. They're literally breaking ground when it comes to video games.
There's not really a
and moving
standard for it yet.
Yeah, except right before we get into this fight, it's tight as shit. Like, it's like really cool because they have like the 2 Femgoons and Logos like jumping around the party while the camera is on like one of those like circular tracks, you know, going around the party, and it's like very strong. It's a very good. It really like enhances the sense of like a hectic scramble is getting ready to like happen.
I was getting a screenshot of all of that as the goons jump in and start the fight, and I got a detail of Payne's sword that I never realized until now, where it's like it's got a really cool fucking skull on it.
It does. That's tight as hell.
That's a really sick fucking design.
It's got it's got the Iron Maiden guy on it.
Yeah,
Eddie. But yeah, we get into a fight with Logos and 2 Femgoons, and we cast Firog on them, and that's it.
Yeah. It almost seems like, and spoiler, the next time we get another Syndicate uniform, it's going to just be Ormi and some, like, a She-Goon and a Dr. Goon or something. And it's like, it almost seems to me like they were probably trying to ramp it up to be like, in the first one, you just fight Ormi. And then in the second one, you fight just Logos. And then in the third one, you fight both of them. But, like, you can do it in any order, so... Orner.
Yeah, this is the fight I actually had played around a little bit more with Payne's Full Throttle.
Nice.
Wherever it's called. And the fight ended with a Goon Femgoon in the middle just turned to stone.
Oh, shit,
nice.
And
well, not getting that uniform, I guess.
So there was 2. Logos got poisoned, like poison bombed or some shit. It was fucking cool.
It worked out though because you there was like a wall that was like closing in on you, so you turned the She-Goon into stone to prevent it from the wall from crushing us all.
That's right. You had to come back later with the super soft. And I also like this when we win this fight and we actually scare Logos and the goons off.
Oh my god!
It's Doom.
Did you hear Doom?
Doom has made the return to the podcast.
That's a rare a vocal appearance of Doom. Oh my god.
That's amazing.
I don't know if I ever heard Doom's voice. That's so sweet.
A little squeak.
I think me and Steven both gasped. I want to say hi, Doom, but Doom is not wearing any headphones, so
it is
not
possible.
Be heard.
It's possible that there are people who are listening to this season first, before any other seasons. Doom is a recurring guest on our podcast, who is a silly little cat that Alex lives with that occasionally walks in.
He's a large cat who I live with who sometimes comes to the basement while I'm recording.
So, this season has now been blessed by Doom.
I like that this is the first time we're recording video, and now we have video of Doom squeaking.
This is so adorable.
That's true.
What
What were you saying, Curtis?
I was saying that at the end of this fight, I appreciate that Yuno and Riku and Pain do the their tokusatsu superhero poses that they did the intro cutscene.
Yeah.
Like when we fight LeBlanc for the first
Really
time.
cool. I also this is where I took the screenshot of the scanning the Femgoon, and it says an underling in the LeBlanc Syndicate. Though one of the Syndicate's top female goons, her salary is still lousy. She wields magic, but not well enough to win.
Yeah.
And here Logos says, the brains behind the LeBlanc Syndicate, he was scouring the desert for spheres. And then just the same thing about his defense being low or whatever.
Yeah. And that's it for Beacon L. We're deposited right back on the Celsius again.
Yeah, we did score an hour of need garment grid as well for completing that.
Do I have my garment grid tab up? I sure do. It is the Youth League headquarters is the image in the background.
Interesting.
It is a defensive.
I like how when I searched it, one of the top results is a GameFAQs thing that just says, garment grids, beyond frustrated.
So it's another circular one, but it
Okay,
has-
guys, I'm honestly am not some rookie gamer or anything, but I cannot figure this out for the life of me. I have about 15 garment grids, but I can only equip 2 of them. The others show up on the list, but are faded out. It's like they are that way for every character. What am I doing wrong? I'm in chapter 3, so I just need to progress further because I can't use the others. Please help.
You know what? In this person's defense, in this rookie gamer's defense,
same, but I knew how to
In this
fix it.
rookie gamer's defense from 8 years ago,
Yeah,
Viper 5116.
You know what, Viper 5116? I'm coming to your defense here. It is weird to me that you change your job sphere, or you change your dress spheres in the equipment menu,
Yeah.
but to change the spheres that are in your garment grid, you have to go to the grid menu first.
It is a little
very
clunky
odd.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So,
something
you know
that I
what?
noticed as well, but I was like, as an actual non-rookie gamer, as a podcast gamer, I just knew that you have to
worst
equip
kind
it.
of
Yeah, the worst kind of gamer. Yeah, but no, that's really it's kind of a clunky menu. I don't love it. There's things where I'm like, oh, it would have been nice if you could just kind of change this and hit L and R to get to a different screen or something. And it doesn't really work that way, but it's also who the fuck cares?
It's no Crystarium, let's put it that way.
Yeah, and it never will be. I also had my fucking
never
qualms with the
will.
crystal.
Doesn't sound like the Crystarium.
Yeah.
That thing rules. Going woo.
It's true.
Shepherd's tones, love it.
Oh yeah.
But speaking coming to defense, the Hour of Need is another circular shaped garment grid like the ones we've had before, but it has 2 defense plus 10s and 2 magic defense plus 10s.
Yeah,
right.
pretty good.
So we're automatically deposited onto the Celsius again. Riku and Pain both now have their LeBlanc goon suits. They're gooning suits.
They're
on.
gooniforms.
They're gooniforms. Very good.
Yeah, Riku says we totally knocked their socks off, literally.
Love
Payne says, I guess it was worth getting covered in sand after all.
Mm-hmm.
They might have more.
Oh, you know what's interesting? I guess the script also have, if you for some reason go to the Oasis but then don't pick up the sphere and you just go back and then back to your airship, they will say, some say the Oasis is connected to waterways throughout Spira, says Payne. And then Riku says, hey, Uni, isn't that the Oasis? The same one we washed up on 2 years ago?
Oh, interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess like you were saying, Steven, I think the Riku coming from the water in that transformation is probably intentional here, since it's right by the Oasis, which they call out as connected to other waterways in Sphere. That's interesting.
Home.
Yeah.
Maybe that's them explaining, retconning, explaining how we ended up from
Yeah, true. They're that didn't
the
really
underground lake to Beacon Island.
Still does not explain why Floral Falal is just hanging out on the Mushroom High Road.
Yeah, it's true.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's because the Syndicate dropped
What
it.
are mushrooms but some sort of floral? Flora.
It is interesting. We get 2 special dress spheres on this kind of mandatory mission, but Payne's is hidden.
Yeah, I
behind
was thinking about that too.
a sob story from Trommel.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah. They put some thought into it. They didn't put all the thought into it, it seems like.
Yeah.
It's just funny, like, it would drive me, well, unless that's supposed to kind of like, the intent was like, oh, they gave us 2 fancy dress spheres. I wonder where that last one is. And it kind of motivates you to kind of go looking for in other areas of the map.
Yeah, I just wish.
But then just talking to Trommel over and over again.
Yeah, I wish.
Till he runs out of things to say.
I wish they hit it in a different place.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
About all the misservices we've done to you.
Also, the Trommel sob story was a chapter 1 thing.
Yeah.
So.
You lost it.
Well, I actually found I was doing a playthrough when after I did the getting the band together quest. He just walks up into the middle of the screen and actually talk to him for the first time there.
Okay.
In chapter 2 as well.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you could get these all in chapter 2 probably.
So we only have one more place to go before we conclude chapter 2. Really,
back to where it all began this season.
Indeed, we're going back to Mount Gagazet. But before we can go up the mountain to explore, we are put at the base of the mountain where all the Ronsos are, and we can do another round of being
Ronzo
racist,
Roundup.
I guess.
Another round of Ronzo Roundup. Let's fucking
do a
go.
little Ronzo Roundup.
therapy,
What a good
everyone.
fucking part of the game this is. Am I right, fellas?
It's so weird to me that like your completion of the episode hinges on your answers to the Ronzo's like issues and their
completion
fears,
of the game, more like,
but
right?
the way that you're supposed to interact with each of them is entirely inconsistent, right?
Yes.
Like, are you supposed to be taking a line of like, I'm going to create peace between your people? And obviously not. That's not the answer. Usually you're supposed to be like, yeah, fuck Guado, fuck those guys. But if that was
so
the case,
fucking weird to me.
yeah, and if that was the case, you would think that would be consistent. But it isn't.
Yeah, sometimes you're
consistent.
like, yeah, do we really need any of the Guado here? Like, you guys should be pissed at them and kill them all.
Yeah.
And then
And
the other
like,
thing is just like, well, what about peace?
Exactly. Yeah. So like, pick one or
Reach
the other
across
one,
the
right?
aisle.
Like, what? Why do any of these work? I don't understand.
Very, very strange. I feel like none of them are even like particularly interesting enough to like say exactly what's going on. Like, I mean, talking to Kamari, like, I feel like every time we talk to him, this is kind of a fitting thing where it's like we always just say you have to figure this out on your own.
Yeah.
We believe in you, buddy.
And Kamari's kind of just like, oh yeah, like, what kind of elder would I be if I just had everyone else solve my problems for me? Thank you, Lady Yuna. And Yuna's like, that's not what I was saying. I wasn't saying like you're a shitty leader for.
Well, supposedly, like, his first reaction is like, oh, like asking for help is a bad leader, and then she's like, oh yeah, no, that's not what I meant.
Yeah,
like, oh,
you
no,
took
no,
that
I
the
know.
wrong
Like,
way, buddy.
Elder who rely on other, not worthy.
I didn't mean it that way, Kamari.
Kimari thank Yuna. Burden of elder lighter now.
It kind of mirrors maybe a little bit of Yuna's journey, maybe of looking for identity, like what it means to be a leader.
Yeah.
I think part of the important plot and story elements we get here is that like we learn a little more about Garrick. That like Garrick is so he's like one of the Ronso. We may have like discussed him a little bit the first time we had Ronso Roundup, right? But he is getting several of the Ronso on his side where he's like, no, I'm going to get a bunch of Ronso together and we're going to go kill the Guado.
We're going to find and kill the Guado, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of the Ronso around the mountain are like, you know what? This Garrett guy, like the way he thinks. And then sometimes Yuna's just like, yeah, I agree. So,
yeah,
I don't
like
know.
sometimes Yuna can be like, yeah, I agree. You should go and do what Garrick is saying. Maybe it is the Guado's fault. Like literally stoking the fires of fucking war, which is very out of character for Yuna.
It's like, when will the fighting end or whatever? Like if you keep,
Yeah.
I posted a page from Ultimate. It was interesting, actually. It looks like mechanically what's happening is that between 3 options, there's an option that will be neutral in terms of trust, losing trust by 1 point or adding trust by 1 point. I'm guessing we're trying to get everyone to trust.
Yeah.
I guess like this will all pay off to like the Ronso all trusting us and us being able to make the final call where we're like, hey, don't
I think
do
this is the last time we have to do this,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
But it's just it's very clunky how it all. I do like that there's one guy who is like the most extreme of all of them, where like Garrick's like, let's go and fucking round everybody up and fucking kill them, and you're like, okay, so that seems pretty extreme. And then you talk to one guy and he's just like, Kamari's a fucking weakling, Garrick moves too slow, the Guado will escape if we don't act now.
Yeah.
And like the option you have to say to him is, then there won't be anyone left to fight.
So what a weird answer.
I like half of them is like Yuna just saying, just think about it some more.
Yeah.
Let us stew a little longer. Like,
Yeah.
worry is a great burden on Elder's shoulders. He does seem very tired.
Yeah, right.
You said it, sister.
But yeah, so we can do that. And then we can. So when we talk to Kamari specifically, he says that like there's an area on the mountain. So he's been looking for spheres. He knows that we're a sphere hunter now. He has in his like day-to-day life been like keeping an eye out for us. And when we first get there, he's kind of like, "Hey, I haven't found anything, and I kind of feel like I let you down." And Yuna's like, "No, it's totally fine." And he goes, "But there is one area I haven't checked yet because it's like sacred ground, right? But the Faith Scar, there could be something up there," which I like the idea of the Faith Scar being that like it was a piece of the land in the mountain when the Faith was there, but now that the Faith is no longer there, it is just a like opening, like a cavern that goes into the mountain.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. That's like a good way to play on that we get to like jump around the mountain and be in new areas now.
Yeah.
I do also like the just Yuna's wording when she's like, because he's feeling bad that he couldn't help her. It was like, oh, no worry. Like Yuna should worry about Yuna problems. Like I like that.
I
She's
love
kinda
that. Yeah,
mimicking
she's using
her.
the Ronso like mentality. Yeah.
Speaking about herself in the third person.
Yeah, that was cute.
Kimari lets us know that ever since like summoners have stopped coming up the mountain, the only people who ever show up are other sphere hunters. But he's worried that because they're like on sacred ground that they're not going to be treating it right or whatever. And so the party's like, "Oh, I bet it's the LeBlanc Syndicate. I bet they're up there. We should go look." And then we have the option to go up the mountain, right? And like luckily, the little teleport pads from FF10, once we're done with going up and down the mountain, those are all functional. So we can just go whoop, right up to the Faith Scar.
Right to the
like,
Faith
no
Scar.
problem.
Yeah, there's also a Ronzo right there who we can talk to in the 100% guide. It tells you to do this after you complete this mission and then come back by having to.
I took a swing. I came here first. I came here actually like, wait, I'm supposed to talk to this guy. And I didn't realize it was later in the guide. I thought they just missed it, so I just took a swing.
Oh shit! Really?
Thankfully, I picked the right.
Okay, yeah. So
it doesn't really matter. I'm not doing 100% anyway. But.
True. Yeah. Yeah. He just says many people come to Sacred Mountain uninvited. Sphere hunters are a problem, and then you can say they should take better care of the mountain. Yeah, and then he says Sacred Mountain Gagazet is life of Ronzo. Defile Gagazet, defile Ronzo. And then he says go down through cave to reach Faith Scar. Go to our holy place, Sphere Hunters.
If you teleport to the Faith Scar, you're actually not on the screen where the Faith Scar is, and it's not ahead of you. I thought it was ahead of you, so I went all the way to the next area. It's not over there. That's where
it's like
you
if you walked up from like where Kimari is, you would kind of wrap around, and then you would walk past that guy. He would be like on your right side, and you'd have to walk down to the next area. But also the mini map shows us a little triangle that shows us which direction to go in. So
that is true.
I like if you go to the airship before engaging this quest, Riku says, "So when do we get to ride in Faith's car?"
That's so stupid. I love that. That's great.
Yeah, Brave was like, I think Riku means the Faith Scar. At least I hope that's what she means.
I don't know, man. A Faith car would be pretty fucking sick.
She already has her own fucking summon with
Yeah, she already has her own car at this point.
What she's talking about, this is foreshadowing for Saz's summon.
Yeah, that's right.
So when we actually go to the Faith Scar, it's kind of a cool area. It's built around the jumping mechanic, right? It is just kind of like a big climb that we have to do with various like small ledges that you just hold the jump button and you kind of like scale the cliffside, right?
It's very reminiscent of that Radical Rock, the aggro crag.
Indeed.
This is how I knew I was going the right direction, because as you mentioned, going north on the screen goes basically to a dungeon we had to swim through as Titus and Waka, but now it's all drained and the water's there.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't recognize that.
Like there was a part where like, oh, I remember having like dropped these orbs into like the socket of a wall.
Yeah.
That were and those are still there. They're like these glowing like Yevon symbols, and it was like. It was a dead end, but it's really weird, like going through a map that looks like if it feels like I've loaded like an already completed save sometimes in a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it is pretty cool that they did that.
It's like, oh, I've been here before, but I'm just walking here instead of swimming.
I was just gonna say, as you're climbing, you also interact with the world's worst rocks because they run away from you.
Yes, I noticed this too.
I was watching a 100% guide, and the guy was like, so you just need to walk over and not hold the circle button, and then when you get over there, you could press the circle button. So, I'm gonna skip ahead to the video to where I get it completed, and then it skips, and he's like, yeah, I gave up, so it's not important.
Yeah, because there are a couple like on the outskirts of the Faith Scar. Sometimes you can walk up to like a floating rock that'll have a treasure chest on it.
Oh,
and
you know what? I
run
saw
at
those and I did not even get them. I was like,
if you run up to it, it floats away from you. So what you have to do is you have to like barely tilt the analog stick and like slowly walk up to it.
Yeah, ski over there.
Which one of them has an elixir on it, so like that's pretty good, But,
we can steal those from fucking Logos, though. So
yeah.
They're easily startled.
That's interesting. Yeah, I was wondering about that, and I was like, I guess we come back and get this later. But yeah, when we get to like,
did you guys already get the mission?
Yeah, when we get to like up to where the rocks are like on the map, that clearly we see a little cutscene of a femme goon kind of just jumping up very comically because it's not really well animated.
Boing.
She just jumps up, so like we're going to be following her, and then we get the mission thing. Spring into action. You'll need uniforms to sneak into Chateau LeBlanc, so what are you waiting for? Get to it.
Get to it. And we basically chase the Femgoon up one screen worth of climbing. We go to the second screen, and then there's a fork, right? So if we follow the Femgoon directly, we'll just like basically run into the next area and fight her, and you'll lose 100%. You'll lose 100% for following the fucking instructions, which is once again insane.
And also the kind of thing where, like Steven, you were saying how it was a game that you just play for like 400 hours over and over again and try and find every permutation. But this seems so like baffling. Well, I guess like maybe we might come later on and have to go even higher up the mountain. And basically what happens is when we go up there, we can't get to the top yet because it's just like there's too much going on. There's too much like bullshit happening. There's like a storm or something.
There's a storm at the highest point of the screen.
Yeah, so like Yuna says, think there's anything up this way, and Riku says, if there is, we're going to get blown away before we see it, and Pain says, this is suicide, turn back now. And there's like flashing on the screen and stuff. So we see all of our party jump in. So I guess we come back here later. So I guess the mentality was like, well, if you've already beaten the game and you come back here later, when you're doing this, you're like, I wonder if I can get up there early and get whatever's up there. And then you try, and that's when you unlock like the extra percentage point that will get you 100%.
Well, the 100% in this one is because you miss the Hot Springs episode if you just follow the Femgoon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Okay, then that leaves a lot out. I just figured when we went one screen extra, it would be the hot spring part.
So yeah, like what happens is if you do follow the Femgoon, what happen? We get a cutscene, and then we just fight basically two goons and Ormi, right?
That's right.
That's kind of what would happen. But if we go up, just keep climbing up as far as you can, we will trigger another cutscene with an alternate kind of result.
So it's near the section where like the storm happens or whatever. You can just barely make out that it's a rock over a precipice. It almost looks like a wall, but basically you can like walk over to this rock, and it'll begin a cutscene where like the party is standing on this rock that's like jutting out over a hot spring, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can imagine like the asylum demon,
Oh yeah,
as I often do.
So we do a plunging attack onto the Femgoons and do like incredible damage, and then we just throw a couple of the black fire bombs, and it takes care of it.
Exactly, easy job done. But yeah, we just kind of see two not like syndicate character models, just two like regular NPC models in the in like a hot spring. We can only see their heads, and then everything's like steamy below, and it just says, can you believe there's a hot spring up here? It's like the Ronso's private getaway. Think it's okay ditching work like this? We need to find that thing pretty soon.
Oh, so that means you didn't get the 100% scene?
I think I did.
You didn't go to the very, very top and drop down on top of them?
No, I did
where
not.
the rock falls and then they get scared and run away.
I did not. No.
Yeah, there's a whole different thing.
So you're explaining the cutscene in which you follow them into the hot spring.
Yeah, I went to the
properly,
top
like-
and they're like, "This is suicide. Let's turn back." So I listened to what the game characters
because the entrance that you're supposed to go into to get the scene, it doesn't look like an entrance.
Wow.
It just looks like the wall. Like it's terrible.
Again,
It's
I've
like-
complained about this in the past with the 100% guide. And coming to it, the 100% guide is clearly for people who have played this game before and are trying to 100% it after the fact, not a first-time playthrough, so I can't even really complain too much. But it says specifically, when following LeBlanc's goons, do not follow them into the hot springs like you normally do. Instead, keep going upwards to watch another scene. So I went upwards,
And you watched
and
the
I watched
scene.
another scene.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then I continued on, and I got a scene in a hot spring. So I was like, all right, 100%.
I'm gonna send you these videos because I've been watching these videos. This guy Stardrop, he does 100% guide, but he commentates it.
Smart.
So that's what I've been watching, and he also at the end of every mission includes the completion percentage.
Yeah,
as well.
I've been behind on the completion percent since like chapter 1, so I've come to terms with not being in 100%. But I guess I'll finish up this cutscene and then we can talk about the differences in the other
Yeah,
one.
go ahead.
But yeah, they're just wondering, like, is it okay to ditch work like this? We need to find that thing pretty soon. And then the other one says,
Talk about it all you like. I don't see how we're getting up that cliff. LeBlanc's not going to like this. Hey, not that it matters, but just how old is she?
You got me. I can't tell whether she's spicy or just seasoned.
and then Riku. and then
That's pretty
yeah,
good.
and then Riku is
You know what? I'm glad one of us got the scene actually. 'Cause that's
yeah,
pretty
me
good.
too. Great.
I'm sorry.
But
I meant that
Riku's just
positively.
standing there. She goes, "A hot spring," and Yuna says, "Sounds nice." And Riku says, "I know. Let's grab their uniforms." And Yuna says, "I don't know. Isn't that a bit much?" It's like, Yuna, you've been like beating the shit out of people and then taking their clothes, and now you're just like, I don't feel right about just taking their clothes without inflicting harm on them first. But Payne says they're the ones slacking off. Payne's like, you got time to lean, you got time to clean. You shouldn't be in the fucking hot tub, lady. But yeah, then that's when Ormy comes in. He says, "Hey, you again. Your little helpers are taking a break in the spring," says Payne. And he's like, "They wouldn't." And Riku says, "Look out, look out. Ormy's trying to sneak a peek." And then he's like, "What? Hey, I got a reputation to think of too, you know?" And then it enters the battle.
Okay.
So tell me about how I fucked up. What did you guys see?
Well, if you go into the like essentially hidden entrance that you can barely see.
Let me. I'll drop the URL with the current time. I think it's right after the thunder thing in the Discord. So if you want to watch along,
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah,
we come to a lovely like crystalline cave. I'll just pull it up too, but because I can't find the proper script.
I have it in front of me.
It looks like there's a little hole in the wall, and then there's like a little spiral.
I
that kinda
saw
hangs
that.
up over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the gang kind of comes up looking around, and the camera swoops down, and we see directly below us two goons that have just come out of the hot spring.
Right.
Two fem goons specifically.
That water felt great. Can you believe there's a hot spring in a place like this?
But isn't this supposed to be sacred Ronso ground? Maybe this wasn't such a good idea.
What? You think some Ronso boogeyman is gonna come get you? Better that than the boss. Know what I mean?
Hey! You two been slacking off?
No, we were, getting ready for duty. Just trying to, rejuvenate, sir.
And then as they're talking, the rock that the party is on collapses and falls into the spring, and it scares all of them away, right? And the party's like, "Oh, we're in a hot spring. Maybe we should have a beach episode of an anime."
I can't believe I missed the actual beach episode. Fuck.
Yeah, but we steal their clothes. They decide to use the hot spring.
Well, as long as we're here.
On sacred ground?
No one's looking.
They say as there's two Hypello just like dancing like, woo!
Yeah, there's like
spring
two
break
Hypello
in the
I love how
background.
the Hypellos are the fuck boys. Like,
I know.
just the hype man.
And then I put on my grumpy face because it does all the anime tropes, and I'm just like, hate anime tropes.
Everyone's comparing their breast size and shit. Yeah, Riku's being a little creepo. Like, oh, what we have
They
here.
do the whole thing, which this happens in anime all the time. Especially in anime that have like multiple women characters, where basically like they like grope each other in the spring essentially, and then like and then Riku's like, oh, Yuna's got boobs, incredible, she has it going on, and then she goes over and looks at Pain and is like, oh, you have great boobs. She doesn't like say it out loud like that or whatever, but like that's clearly the implication, and like their hand gestures are just slightly off the screen to where it's like not explicit, and I roll my eyes and die a little bit inside, and eventually
Yuna puts her in a headlock, and then Pain like is getting ready to like fucking sock him, and then they're just like obviously having fun, and then later they're just also partying with the high pillow, and then Buddy is like
I like that Pain says stay away and splashes Riku.
Yeah.
They have a little tickle fight.
Yeah, eventually Brother and Buddy do call in. It's like, is everything okay? Yuna says, yeah, just taking a little dip. Brother, of course, is code pink. I'll be right there right now.
Yeah, but as soon as Brother finds out that they're like in a spring, like or whatever, he's like, oh my god, I have to go right now. I will be there immediately.
He's like, sure, I might accidentally see my sister naked, but on the plus side, I get a chance to see my cousin naked.
That's right, yeah. Like my cousin and her goth friend, come on.
And the developers did say they wanted to try to figure out how to do this kind of like in Yakuza, where they have they were implied to be completely nude, because in this one they are basically wearing like swimsuits, kind of
Two
one
pieces.
piece. But they technically and I guess morally, because a lot of their female coworkers were like, yeah, this is kind of weird, and we just couldn't pull it off.
That is what I wanted to bring up. I was gonna say I feel like the merits of a beach episode are heavily dependent on who is writing the beach episode. I feel like if it is dudes doing some dudes rock fucking shit, like shock jock kind of writers writing like, what if these sexy girl characters were doing this? Like, that's not great.
And that's how this feels to me.
If it's like Ranma 1/2 or something where it's like written by a woman, I'm assuming that Rumiko is the one who writes all like the things in that show. It's like, it feels a little less gross when shit like that happens. You know, it's like it's for a different perceived audience than like a shoujo anime versus like a shonen kind of thing. But I mean, it's, you know, it's like eye of the beholder kind of thing. Like I'm glad that you brought that up, Alex, where it's like, yeah, the female staffers were just like, maybe don't do that to these characters, you fucking weird. Like, we said okay to the massage scene. That's where we're gonna draw the line.
I feel like I have an especially low tolerance to like anime bullshit sometimes, but I also like I have like a very easy litmus test for it, right? And my litmus test is like
the ligma test.
The ligma test for this is like, and for this is not even like a theoretical test. It's like a real thing that like I was, I guess, in high school when I was playing this for the first time, maybe like early college, but I was living at my parents' house, right? And the PS2 is not in my bedroom. It is in the living room downstairs, right? And so like the test is, if my mom walks in while I'm playing any section of a video game, how am I going to feel about that interaction or whatever? Like, am I going to have to turn around and be like, listen, I know that this sucks. Like,
I know that this looks really bad for me.
It's art, Mom.
Yeah. And like, this is not the scene I would want my mom to walk in on. And then I have to explain, listen, these developers are just horny. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
It's character development.
It's character development.
Did you get this as a kid, Steven? The scene?
I will be honest. I don't think I did. I think it was in my mind, like Pain was bothered by Riku invading her personal space. I don't want because again, there's really nothing about the angle or anything that makes it kind of look like she's like explicitly staring at her chest or anything. I think
it is still like limited facial animations and everything, and then there's like the floaty mocap that's going on.
The implication is in the scene just prior to that, where Riku explicitly does it to Yuna, and then Yuna goes, "What are you looking at?" Or like, "What?" And she's like, "Nothing, but I see who has it going on," right? And then she like Riku kind of like gropes herself slightly off screen in the like bottom right hand corner,
just
and then she like crawls up to Pain and says, "What do you got going on?" You know, like, so she wants to see, and Pain's just like not having it. She's like, "You stay away."
Yeah, see, in my head, I was like, they're just having fun. They're just tickling each other, and but I also like, there's the scenes where Buddy was hitting on Yuna, and I just totally didn't even get that either. I think specifically
Dream brother.
Or sorry, yeah, brother, not Buddy. The one specific.
Buddy's okay.
Yeah,
Buddy and Yuna are actually my OTP.
But like the one where you would get those like weird like radio things, and then it's kind of implied that like brother's listening in on Yuna the whole time, and kind of like that. I didn't totally flew over my head. I was like, that's weird that I just get this random like bloop, and then later on I'm like, oh,
it's guy with a weird accent.
It's like when you go back and watch like Ren and Stimpy or like Rocko's Modern Life now, and you're like, oh my god, I did not know.
Dare you?
I did not know any of that was happening when I was watching this as a kid. Yeah.
Well, and to be fair, I feel like even the thing that I was bringing up, like I probably didn't understand that when I was a kid, but just through like years of ingesting media and playing like anime,
years of having things like
animes
targeted at you, like Porky's or whatever the fuck, or Revenge of the Nerds, and just the awful fucking like 80s like dudes being guys shit.
In this case specifically anime, that is a trope that they use over and over and over and over.
For sure.
You have it in like, Persona games too. They have like the beach day where everybody goes to the beach and let's have a little problematic episode that we might not include in the remake or something.
I'd love to talk to you specifically about Persona 4 at some point, because there's like a one day in that, like, this is like the worst fucking thing I've ever played, and it aged like fucking sour cream in hot spring.
I want to do a quick callback to the very beginning of this episode, Steven, when you were talking about how you were on this episode. Was this the scene that you were talking about?
I mean, we were talking about it, but in what context? I'm sorry.
Because I did not see this at all. I thought you were talking about the massage game that I didn't think we were going to get to.
I got you. Yeah, I mean, like a lot of this stuff, again, in my mind, like, yeah, I wouldn't want my mom walking in on it because it's girls in, bathing suits or whatever. But in my mind, like I had no idea that they were talking about breasts or that like, there was any kind of, I thought, oh yeah,
they're comparing swimsuits, Steven.
It's a game about dressing up in different outfits.
Yeah, I think this one probably hit on the nose a little bit more than some of the other ones for me. But like growing up playing this game, like when I think about this game, obviously, like these scenes do not even come across my mind. Like,
yeah, of course.
It's all the other stuff that I think, makes the game great. But
and I want to to be clear, right? I'm not trying to like call out FF10-2 for this because like I am an enjoyer of some campy BS. Like I don't mind like things that are like even on the edge of being like offensive, I can enjoy just fine. It's just the like, if you do something edgy or something that's like a little bit questionable and it's also tropey, that's when I put on my grumpy face and I'm like, no, you have to be original when you do that. Like, you have to try. Like that's not fair. You can't just shorthand it.
Great thing about DeviantArt is that it's full of cringe that's very unique. Cringe.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like this is not unique cringe. And so
this is very well trodden cliche stuff.
Yeah. So like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, how dare they like, how dare they write a scene that panders to like male gaze? Like whatever, I don't care. That's fine. I love the game Code Vein, and that shit is ridiculous. So but like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just like
the only way it would have been worse is if like there was a little window in the side and like brothers' heads peeking up in the ladder, and then the ladder tips back, and like in the fucking Animal House.
You're right.
It's like when you see like Miyazaki in Dark Souls, his male gaze, where he's just like, I just like big women. So at this point in the game, I made a really big woman.
Yeah.
Miyazaki panders to the male gaze in the way that I like to look at chain mail. And he's like, you should always be looking at mail, chain mail, steel mail.
Yeah, the male gaze, like Steven.
Like me.
One of the male gaze that we know.
I think for me, like there's other scenes too. Like I think I was listening to the episode that came out recently where you're talking about on the Mihen High Road. There's that weird little cutscene where like Riku's running across the bridge and there's a thing, and it's just like a weird scene. Like you look at it and you're like, what are they even trying to show me? Like, and
go ahead.
I think that for a lot of the stuff that was supposed to be like a little bit more like, ooh, we're getting like, like, oh, here's the like hot spring scene. Like a lot of that, I was just like, I don't really know what they're trying to show me, and then I would just like skip it. Like,
just like you don't even care about it, so it doesn't even like register in your brain. You're just like, when do I get to play again? When do I get to go into Floral Falal again?
Quick side note: have any of you been back to the Mihan High Road?
No.
I did go back to the Mihan High Road, and lots of the areas are blocked off now, and there are NPCs that say there has been a terrible accident. I can't let you through here.
I think we should just shut down the Mihan High Road completely forever, because that place has always got...
Well, it kind of is shut down in some ways, because the hover drivers are like, yo, there have been accidents. We cannot drive the hovers right now.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting if true.
I don't know, what could that all be about? Sorry, I just want to point that out.
It's always funny to kind of think about that. Like, I'm going to bring up Bloodborne as well, where there's like a very creepy line in the beginning of the game when you speak to Gehrman, and he says like, oh yeah, use anything in the workshop like to your liking, and then he goes like, even the doll if it suits you, and he does this creepy laugh, and like I think there's an obvious implication there that when I was playing it, for some reason went completely over my head, because I always play FromSoft games as like a female character, so to me this was just an interaction between a guy, and I was just like, oh yes, use the doll, which is clearly going to be the level up maiden in this game, so yes, I will use the doll to level up and stuff. And it's like there's a much different context to it that like I guess if I was playing as a male character doing like a male insert thing and this creepy old guy's talking to me, I'd be like, oh yeah, you're like a sex pest. I don't want to be anywhere. Which like in the game he is explicitly like a sex pest for the character that he modeled the doll after. So like I remember hearing about that and I was like, oh right, yeah. Oh yeah.
Just to give some extra context too, like I also played Final Fantasy VII around this time, and I think I've talked to some of you about the fact that like Tifa's character for me just completely went over my head because I never had her in my party ever.
Okay.
Like my party was always Cloud, Red 13, Sid, or Vincent. So I was
all
like,
the cuties.
Hell yeah, great party.
Me and all my boys, so then it'd be like, oh, Cloud loves Tifa, and I'd be like, since when? Like,
yeah. That's sick. That's great. Yeah.
I went on a date with Bear. I don't know about you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna push us along here. I apologize.
No, that's all good.
But Carl, in your timeline,
our timeline,
I'm guessing that you fought the two Femgoons and Ormy like at the same time, right?
Yes, correct. Equally as nothing of a battle. I do. There is actually a nice line where they say they see us and they go the gull wings, or is it the peeping Tom wings, which is like not a good play on words at all.
Got him.
And Payne just calls him out. She just goes, "How clever!" And then we get into the fight, and like after we win, it just says. We just have dialogue from Brother, and he says, "This is Brother. How is everything?" And Yuna says, "Mission accomplished. We found ourselves a uniform." And he says, "Roger, we're on the way." And then we liberated our final Syndicate uniform. Mission accomplished. And we get the stone-hewn garment grid.
Stone-hewn. But in the 100% version, because we startled the Femgoons and Ormy away just long enough for us to kind of soak it in the hot spring, we can leave the hot spring, and then as we start like kind of traversing back, I think there's a save sphere, and then you start climbing your way back because you can't beam to the airship from the save sphere for some reason. You trigger a cutscene, and then we basically get jumped by the two Femgoons. I think first, and then you fight them. I think them in like one of the like weird gun snake things.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you can get encounter with Ormy on his own, who's what does he say? Falling down on people like that gave me a little surprise, that's all.
Yeah.
You know what? I think it's the same thing with this. I think I might have just fought Ormy by himself, and I didn't even the battle was over so quickly that I didn't even realize it. And then it's like I got a battle complete screen, and then there's there's another scene where the girls are still in the hot spring. And they say, "Hey, did you just hear someone say peek?" And then that's when they find you and say, they're in their uniforms and they say, "Peeping Tom wins."
Specifically, the Ormy fight the non 100% Ormy fight is the battle that I was having problems with in the speedrun. And so I don't know a lot about the speedrun, but I know enough that it makes this battle interesting because you are like so low level in the speedrun that like Ormy will one hit KO any of your party members no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is still two battles, but they're like one after another.
Yeah. It went so quickly in a flash that I thought nothing of it when I was doing it.
But in that fight, the way that you win is by having 3 thieves, because thieves have the 2 attacks at once, and it takes a little longer than just like doing one attack. So you queue up all of your different attacks perfectly spaced so that you knock Ormy down, like he like falls on his butt, and as he's getting up, the next attack hits, and then the next one hits, and then the next one hits. And so you just perfectly space all your attacks out so that he never actually gets a turn. Because as soon as he gets a turn, he just kills your party.
That's
so
like fucking fighting Flame Lurker in the Demon Souls speedrun, where you just like utilize like the small windows of time when you can stagger him and hope for good RNG so he doesn't just fucking swipe you and kill you.
But I could never do it because it takes a different amount of time for each animation of each character to pop off. Like Pain's thief attack is slower, so you need to like mentally know to queue her up faster than the other two, and I can never quite get the speed down, so I was just like, fuck this.
Probably requires a lot of practice to get into that rhythm.
Yeah.
Cool.
But anyway, we have 3 I was gonna say dress fears, that's not correct. We have 3 LeBlanc Syndicate outfits.
3 regular dresses.
That's right,
of the non-sphere variety.
Mm-hmm.
Some goon outfits.
We're so ready to goon now. And once we have all 3, we get an additional little cutscene the next time we go to the Celsius.
Right.
Yeah, that shows Yuna now also in a LeBlanc Syndicate outfit. She does a little like flip off the little stairway coming down into the bridge.
Her walk cycle's now different because they just
use the models. Yeah,
she's like a little hunched over, like a little gremlin.
But yeah, all the party members have it. What did they say something about like, oh, do these look good, or like how do we look in these?
It's like, well, brother says it's perfect.
That's right.
We're off to Chateau LeBlanc.
Yeah, she goes, well, and brother's like, oh, it's perfect, and he flexes. It's so good.
Yeah. Payne says, let's settle this score, and we get the mission accomplished screen, and we also get the Bum Rush garment grid,
which I did equip because it ups your attack and magic attack. By
nice.
10, I think. So pretty good.
Wow, I gotta equip that. It's also worth noting that when you're all in the uniforms on the Celsius, you can talk to Riku and Pain again, and they say, Riku says, I think it's about time we crashed LeBlanc's party. And then if you talk to her again, she says, hey, the uniform looks great on you, Uni. Very cute.
Oh, sounds good.
Love when homies gas homies up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But when you talk to Pain, she says, they sure use cheap fabric. Don't worry, those goons are too dumb to see through this disguise.
But yeah, that's all we have to do until we're ready to go to Chateau LeBlanc and continue the story. So, y'all have any closing thoughts for any of these areas?
Oh boy.
I think it's very funny that I was like...
It's certainly a titillating episode for monkeys and Hypello alike.
Yeah, indeed.
I just think it's very funny that I was like, I don't know what Curtis has against a beach episode in this totally normal situation where there's she-goons in a thing calling out Ormy for being a peeping Tom or whatever. That sounds fine.
And the thing is, like, I would like to point out that the next episode that we do is going to have a scene that I would call much more explicit, but I think it's hilarious. 10 out of 10 art, baby, because it's crazy, because it's just fucking insane.
It is very, very funny. It's like slapstick horny, funny. I would say.
It's just Minesweeper.
Yeah.
It's a reskin of Minesweeper.
It's tic-tac-toe Minesweeper. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about that.
I am too. Steve, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah,
especially such short notice. Like, I was playing along, and then last night, and as soon as I got the Machina, I'm like, oh, I gotta call Steven.
Yeah, no, I mean, thank you for thinking of me. Thank you for inviting me back. Thank you for allowing me to talk about this game that I love so much, and then talk about, some of the worst missions in that game. No, I really appreciate the opportunity to come and chat with y'all. It's always a good time. So,
yeah, it's always great having you, buddy.
Is there anything you would like to plug?
I check out Daycare Dittos. We talk about Pokemon and what makes each one unique and special. We've got some great guests on that as well. You can check out Coughing, Farfetched, and Carl's has a couple. So
did you Abra or something?
No. Famously, I wanted to do Abra, and at the time, Dave was like, "Hey, sorry, you can't do Abra. We already have a guest lined up for that, and his name is Steven, your friend," who then just became like that episode was so good that they were just like, "No, Steven, you just have to be on the podcast all the time now." So
I love that.
A tale as old as time.
Yeah.
I would encourage you to check us out on Instagram. We are going to be having like a tiny little giveaway soon. So
hell yeah.
Some fun stuff. So
yeah, and a highly recommended listen if you are interested in becoming a part of like the Daycare Dittos community. All you have to do is follow them on Instagram, enter that cool giveaway, or come to our Discord where we have a dedicated channel, which is the unofficial Daycare Dittos official channel.
And it's the more hopping spot. So come to both for sure.
But yeah, absolutely. Love that show.
Thank you for also being like the only host who like has played more than one Final Fantasy game.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Dave has played a couple of the Final Fantasy Legends games. We'll get to him.
Okay.
He was on an episode, right? With Peter.
Yeah.
So
he played
FF4,
Final Fantasy VII up to a certain point when he was on the episode, and then he put it down and did not play the rest of it. I do remember that he named Cloud Goku and he named Aerith Eric. I do remember that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, played like a true Final Fantasy VII head. You lose that fourth disc, you can't play no more.
Exactly.
How far are you into with Pokemon? I'm just curious. Like, how many Pokemon are
you guys
Pokemon
just
are you up
did
to
the
right
Quillfish, right?
Oh, yes. Next episode is Shuckle.
God, I love
so we're about
Spoopy is amazing.
Halfway through Gen 2, which doesn't seem to end.
Well, you've like sniped some Pokemon from in the previous season because you tend to do the whole like evolutionary line.
We do the whole line. So we've done all the baby Pokemon and everything, and we're getting to some real bangers coming up for sure. I mean, Shuckle,
yeah.
you don't fuckle with the Shuckle. So
yeah, you don't fuckle with the Shuckle. Spoopy is amazing, and all the rest.
Hell yeah.
Well, Alex, maybe we should get out because I'm starting to get all pruny.
Thank you all for listening. You, the listener. Thank you, Noriko Matsuda and Takahito Oguchi for the game music. Be sure to rate and review, subscribe to wherever you're listening to us, or find us at EveryFNFF on Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, and YouTube, and hop in the Discord.
Yeah, and I got you on this one, Alex. I'm looking here. I want to take over for Alex for a second and just say that Alex...
Carl's got it going on.
Yeah, Alex, though he is one of the podcast's top goons, his salary is still lousy. We don't pay this guy enough for all he does. So thank you so much, Alex.
All right, y'all take it easy
next week.